You're up and it's still dark. Kick back with a cup of joe. You know you've got friends waiting on 1620 The Zone. It's Happer and Schaefer. It's Connor and Mike. Listen on the radio stream or YouTube or podcasts. Anytime it feels right. It's Happer and Schaefer.
All right, good morning. Welcome in. It is Monday here on Happer and Schaefer, 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer. That's Happer and Schaefer. And there's Joey Colbert as well.
Good morning.
Morning, everybody. Back from a weekend of sports action. People were winning. People were losing. People were triggering each other just like it ever was. And this week, again, we have a football game. Happy Super Bowl week, everybody. Anybody going to say anything else?
Oh, no.
God.
Oh, no. Was trying to save that up. It's somehow worse.
You gotta let it go, man. Yeah, you gotta.
I could tell it was a tough day in Lincoln yesterday.
It had less to do with that than the cold ravaging my head right now.
Well, I was gonna say, what do you think the percentage is? What because you were already not feeling very good on Friday, and then you went and screamed your head off yesterday. So
Yeah.
what happened?
I would
Where were we
say
at?
probably 75% the cold.
Okay.
And 25% the basketball game. This is worse than I even imagined it was going to be.
In these trying times, I hope that you could find your way to make it through. But I have found that if you just, you somehow just like rip through, like if we get through this segment somehow, some way, but you have to do it. You got to burn it. Yeah,
a lot of fluids.
You got to burn it. You got to let it go.
Apologies to the listeners. It's going to be difficult.
You gotta run it and see what happens. And then in 20, 25, 30 minutes, maybe we'll be all of a sudden we'll be feeling a little bit better. But there's no way to really make it work unless you rip it, So I'm sorry, it's probably not the answer that you wanted to hear, but here we are.
There's no great answer when you start your day at 4:45.
That's right.
I didn't talk until I got into the studio.
That's the thing. You just gotta
Yeah, no, well, yeah, I suppose I could have. And I was gonna give it a go. It was not even a game time decision.
There we go. It's already sounding
much like Rink Mast. I was gonna give it a go, much like Rink Mast. First half, not great.
Yeah. Rink Mast
early second half, probably not gonna be great.
Oh, the whole game, except for like the last two shots that went in for
30
him.
seconds.
Yeah.
Last 30 crossover, maybe.
Yeah.
By the crossover.
By the crossover, but we'll be feeling good for Mike Schaefer. All right, so welcome to the show, everybody. We have basketball to talk about from over the weekend. We have our man of the weekend. We have a variety of different other topics as well, including a story in the World Herald about Nebraska quarterback Anthony Calandria that was concerning to me. Concerning is probably, you're going to perk up when you say that. I saw it and I was like, uh-oh, this is not good. But this is the way I think about these type of things. So we have that. And yes, it is Super Bowl week. And we are excited for one final football game. Did anybody watch the Grammys last night?
No, I did not. I went to bed.
Wow.
Because I got to get my sleep in.
I don't do the award show stuff.
Come on.
Like,
you don't like pop culture?
Maybe the Oscars for whenever you get the run of Best Picture, Best Director.
The very end of the Oscars?
Yeah,
okay. So I figured that was both of your guys' answers. I didn't stop. I didn't wait up until the end of it, but I did watch some of it, and most of what I saw was just commercials. They do the thing on CBS where they're like, all right, we'll be right back. And then 7 minutes later they come back and it's like just a 15-second shot of one of the celebrities in the audience, like cheersing somebody or like taking a drink or having a conversation. And the big voice comes over and they go, "This is the Grammys on CBS." And then they take another 7-minute break.
Oh, so it's like a football game. So they'll have they'll come out of a commercial, do a kickoff, and then go back to a commercial.
But it's
break.
worse. The commercials are long.
But it's even longer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you listen to a lot of new music that the Grammys would be important to you?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I am not the type of person who is, gonna sit there and be like, I don't know what this crap is. Now, there's a lot of it where I don't know what any of it is, but I'm not sitting there on my couch grumbling about it the entire time.
I mean, I'm not either. I don't think about it. That's the difference.
I am wondering about I am wondering about what some of them are wearing and who some of them are, but I'm not like, and I know you're not either.
Who's the new artist of the year?
Okay, so this is what I was going to do with you guys. So the song of the year.
Okay.
The song of the year.
What do you think the chances are that I've heard it?
I think pretty good.
Okay.
I think pretty good for both of you. It was very, right around this time last year, it was having its moment, I think. Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us.
I have heard it.
Okay.
Yep, heard it.
All right, that's good because he talks about some beefs that he has in that song. What did you want to know? Album of the year?
No, new artist of the year.
Oh
yeah. I think I heard the name. I think I know
off
who won.
chance this becomes someone that has a career. Maybe I'll hear of them at some point.
You have probably heard of this person. I would think best new artist went to Chapel Roan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that you would probably know who that is as well, which is good.
Not be able to name a song, but
really, you don't know about the Pink Pony Club?
Didn't know that was them.
That's her.
Familiar.
It's just her. It's just Chapel Roan.
I'm sorry.
And then you have so record of the year, which I don't know what the difference between record of the year and song of the year is. I am not of music, I suppose, but that also went to Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. Album of the year went to Beyonce's country album. Did you know that Beyonce had a country album called Cowboy Carter?
Was familiar.
I was aware she was singing country music.
There
More
you go.
that than having heard it.
And the best new artist was Chapel Roan, who beat a variety of different people, some of which I have heard of and some of which I have not. Benson Boone, Sabrina Carpenter, Doechii. I've never heard of Karugbin, Ray, Shabuzi, and Teddy Swims. I've heard of most of the rest of them. So there you go. Those were the big award winners last night at the Grammys. Excited that you guys at least knew who some of those people were.
Sabrina.
I'm an old music guy. I don't really listen to the new stuff, unfortunately.
I think we probably, we all are a certain level of percentage in that same category. Thomas writes in on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. It wouldn't be 1620 The Zone without crapping on the football team as soon as you can in the show every day. We should make that a tradition. Every day when we start the show, we say something bad about Husker football.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that we've actually started the show of Husker football in the last.
I just said that I saw an article about Anthony
No,
Calandria and people got mad about it already. So that's
familiar.
pretty much on track for everything else that I say these days. All right, so welcome to the show. Today we will talk with our dear friends Tim Verghese Inside Nebraska coming up at 8:30. Michael Brunt's coming up at 9:15. That is the lineup. Want to hear from you all, 402-951-1620 on the Prairie Casino Zone hotline. You could call or text that number. Tweet at Happer and Schaefer, which we got a tweet from our dear friend VJ over the weekend of a really, really good Cup of Joe story potentially that he tweeted at Happened Schaefer. So Joe, you could go check that out if you don't have your headlines for today. So
yeah, I need to do some research.
oh, there's an interesting one. And I don't know where it's from. Maybe you could do a quick Google on it, but it is indeed there. So you could tweet at us at Happen Schaefer, at Connor Happer, at Mike J. Schaefer, at Joe Warcola on Twitter, and email Connor, Mike, Joey, 1620thezone.com on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox. And we say good morning to the YouTube streamers this morning, where Sindelar writes in, the basketball was good this weekend. Oh, we'll talk about the basketball. That much is for sure. The basketball yesterday in Lincoln, where somehow we talk a lot about online controversies here on the show, and there's anytime any of our local teams play, it seems like there's several of them that pop up. But there was this weird corner yesterday where Nebraska basketball did a tweet of the line that was outside of Pinnacle Bank Arena before the game, and they proclaimed it to be the basketball capital of the world, which I have no problem with, just because it was the biggest game in college basketball at that moment. I think that's what they were trying to say. But predictably, when you say that you are the basketball capital of the world, there is one certain fan base that really, really thinks that they have full and complete autonomy over that phrase. And that would be, hilariously, the Yukon Huskies. So it was very funny to watch that whole triangle of love between Nebraska, Yukon, and then Creighton was sort of the connecting piece in both of them yesterday online. Very funny, because the Yukon accounts get very triggered very easily.
College basketball world fights more online than I really ever gave it credit for.
Oh yeah, it's big time.
The Illinois fans are without humor.
That's right.
Multiple tweets yesterday, just jokes sailing right past. Right past.
Nope.
Like very obvious jokes. Could not be more obvious. Very angered fan base.
Right over their heads.
Yeah.
But to the victors go the spoils, I suppose. Illinois, they get the win yesterday in Lincoln, and they grab a hold of the Big Ten. They do.
They look very, very good.
They do. So we'll have plenty to talk about Illinois, the Big Ten, and then of course Nebraska on their all of a sudden 2-game losing slide. And for the Jays, it was bad. It was bad on Saturday night in Omaha. All right, so that is the setup for today's show. Happy you're with us. I have a prediction. Mike Schaefer will sound better by the end of the show than he does right now. He's just waiting on it to happen.
Hey, think of John Bishop in that UConn game. He sounded bad at the very beginning, and
he
sounded better at the very end when they won a nail biter at UConn.
And then he came home and went to sleep, and then I went to DePaul. So hopefully that doesn't have to happen in this situation. I don't want to go to DePaul.
I'm not going.
All right. We'll be back after this. Happy Monday on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. It's Monday on Happer and Schaefer, 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. Debo writes in, here was the star of the weekend. By the way, you could send us your star of the weekend, man of the weekend. I'm taking it a very different direction this morning for our man of the weekend coming up here in about 20 minutes. I have like an and it's not even a single person. There's just like it's kind of just an excuse for me to rant, to be completely honest with you. So we're going to do that. But Debo writes in, he says, here was the star of the weekend, the Stadium Series game between Boston and Tampa. Electric game, even got another goalie fight. The only thing I saw from it was the goalie fight. But I do love the Stadium Series.
Yes.
And I couldn't figure out, I didn't do enough research to figure out what was going on, where they dressed the entire Lightning in Tampa Bay Buccaneer creamsicle uniforms.
Oh, wow.
And then there was members of the Buccaneers like Baker Mayfield and Tristan Wirfs, who I saw who were walking around in Tampa Bay Lightning, like uniforms. Now they weren't wearing skates or anything like that, but they let them out with the boom box, and they did the whole like crossover thing. And it was like, luckily enough for Tampa and for the Stadium Series and for the NHL in general, it was kind of cold there, like, which doesn't happen very often. So, shout out to the Stadium Series in the NHL.
It is a great thing to watch every year.
Absolutely.
Like, I am not an NHL guy. I pay attention to the playoffs a little bit, but usually the best one to me still is the Lake Tahoe, which is the stadium.
Yeah, that was
great. Then it was so unseasonably warm,
right,
that the ice is melting, but it just looked amazing on television.
As we know around here, the weather can be tricky, especially for outdoor hockey contests. But we get to the topic at hand. We'll be talking about this a ton today. A text here from the 402. Connor, is this where Nebraska ball becomes a pumpkin? That was just a text.
Yes, they lost to Michigan and Illinois. They are now pumpkins.
This is where they become a pumpkin. Schaefer confirms it.
It's clearly what's going to happen. Unbelievable.
I
know. I couldn't believe it either.
No, I do not believe that is the case. However, I mean, let's dive into this a little bit. It was first of all, the first thing you have to say that it was a masterful second half from Illinois. They were
awesome. To give it the least amount of inflection to it. They were very, very, very good. You watch both Michigan and Illinois in the same week. One of those teams looked really impressive, and the other team did not. They both beat Nebraska, but I thought Illinois looked really, really good defensively. So much better than the team Nebraska played in December. Like night and day difference how much better they were.
And there's reasons for that. They've had, personnel. I mean, the Wagler thing coming on now is just a game changer for them. And then without Boswell, it's a very different thing right now for Illinois.
They're set up different. They added that guy in the middle of the year too, Mirkovic.
Oh yeah.
Which he was a factor yesterday. They have a bunch of guys that played really well defensively in this game on Sunday that were horrible. They were just non-factors at all. They deterred, I don't know how many block shots they ended up with, but it felt like they had at least 4 or 5. The biggest sequence of the game was Nebraska down 1-6. Sanford goes up for a layup, just an effortless block on their end. They turn it around, other side, work the ball around. It ends with the tap pass out to Davis in the corner.
Yep.
You just watched the highlight.
It's an incredible play.
Yeah. That was the back-breaking sequence for Nebraska, and they never really recovered from there. They went down 4, and then Illinois just kept scoring. Nebraska could not find easy baskets. They made 15 3-pointers and didn't even get to 70 points. It was if there's a recipe for how Nebraska is going to lose games, not a lot of teams can do it. That's the thing. Illinois put something together that I don't think a lot of teams can replicate. But, Nebraska just could not find enough baskets to win on Sunday.
Yeah, it's a really challenging matchup, I think, from a variety of different angles for not only individually, but just, I mean, I think for everybody in the country because of how athletic they are, how big they are. They're big,
Really long
at every position. And they can kind of, they can move you around from that regard. So I think that is a piece of it. But and there's no doubt about it. Just to start this conversation off this way, Illinois is certainly really, really, really good. However, this is a show about Nebraska, right? Or in part about Nebraska. I thought for the first time that I've watched them this year, I thought Nebraska got beat in the little things. I thought
they panicked.
I thought they got beat in the hustle stuff. I thought they got beat and especially, in that sequence that you just mentioned, about 8 minutes to go. I just thought ever so slightly the train kind of came off the tracks for them. I thought going into those moments, I hadn't really seen a time. I could have sworn they were cyborgs. I could have sworn they were robots because they just endlessly and mercilessly execute. They win every ball on the floor. They're the first to the floor, right? Any tap outs, like loose ball situations, it's always Cale Jacobson or Sam Hoiberg that is jumping on top of it, or Berkay or something like that. And I just thought, anecdotally, it didn't feel like they had lost one of those plays the entire year. Obviously they had, but I just thought when it got tough later, and a lot of this is because of their positional size and length and athleticism and how good of a basketball team they are. But, that really shows itself when you are, if you continue to execute despite the results. And the result is whether the ball goes in the hoop or not, right? So if it goes in for you, obviously it's going to make you feel good about yourself. Nebraska was feeling really good about itself at the end of the first half. What a great run that was for them. And then when Illinois, and I thought Nebraska was there defensively, they were in front defensively, they were in position defensively, but they made shots. And then you watch in those moments. And in those moments, I thought the rotations, and Nebraska wasn't scoring on the offensive side of the ball and they weren't getting anything going downhill. And I just thought it was just a ever so slight second later and different than it had been. So that was the first time that I had really felt like that happened to Nebraska this year, which, what's their record now? 20-2,
yeah.
22 games. So 21 games in which you are winning every single little play. I mean, that is incredible. But you do know now that is going to be the recipe for them. They have to do it plus get some plus after that if they're going to go deep into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, they had some moments on Sunday where it felt like they played tight, really for the first time all year. You had the timeout, coming out of a timeout after, I think Illinois had scored 3 straight baskets, pushing up to either a 6 or an 8-point lead. And you come out of the timeout and Jamarcus Lawrence just loses the ball out of bounds.
Yep.
I mean, you just had little plays.
The
like
little
that.
tip around.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just little stuff like that. I mean, Rink Mast was not the same guy. He just looked slow, sluggish, which to be expected after a week that he had.
No doubt. So yeah, you by the way, you have a cough button. So if you feel a cough, you just bang, it's a cough button. I'm telling you, it's a really, really good thing.
I get it. Sometimes the cough just sneaks up.
Sometimes it just
you don't really have like a chance to.
No, you can't catch it.
Up on you.
You can't catch it.
I'll work on it though.
Yeah. So and then Mast not being completely healthy is a factor. I mean, he's spending a night in the hospital or half of a night in the hospital. I mean, he clearly wasn't himself, and and there's been a lot talked about, I think, about the free throw discrepancies over the last 2 games. We said our piece on that after the game against Michigan. Like, Nebraska is just a team who doesn't get to the free throw line as much as their opponents. They're one of the worst teams in the country at getting to the free throw line. It's just their style of play. And there's that, but especially when Mast is out, and especially or when Mast isn't playing well and he's not really asserting himself into the game. And then on Tuesday, when Mast and Frager are out, and you're talking about really two guys with opportunities to get themselves to the rim at like that's a part of their game, with the exception of Sam Hoiberg. Like those are your guys that are basically going to be doing that this season. And I thought that Mast, just he wasn't himself. And so he resulted, he took, in like real game time minute shots, like pre-garbage time shots where he made 2, he was 0 for 7.
Yeah, no, he struggled. He definitely struggled. Everything was just off.
And he resulted to, he tried to get busy in the paint. He tried some back downs, and then he was like, you know what, I got to get a shot to go, and I'm going to take a couple threes, and those both didn't go either. So it's going to be it's a tough ask for them to win when they don't have that guy at his best or even 50% of his best.
I did think it was interesting that Hoiberg, for the second straight game, kind of got after the officiating a little bit. I don't know if you saw this. He had the comments about Sanford, which this is one of the things that Nebraska fans, I think, find annoying right now. You have the Twitter audit guy talking all about how they're not a physical team. You watch Bryce Sanford play. He's being grabbed every single play. They can call that. That isn't illegal basketball defense.
Yeah, and that's good.
They don't get the benefit of those calls.
And
that is a frustrating thing.
The hard part is that
you won't find, just real quickly, you won't find another top 5 team in the country have a negative 41 free throw differential in 2 games.
That's definitely true.
That is pathetic. Like, you can't tell me
from an officiating standpoint.
From just
from
well, yeah. I mean, the Michigan game, Nebraska got 4 free throws in that. They got 5 on Sunday.
Yeah, but
you can't tell me that every time Keaton Wagler went to the free throw line was a legitimate foul and Nebraska never received any of that on the other end.
I think in both cases.
So I don't think the officiating cost Nebraska on Sunday. I want to be very clear about that.
Thank you.
I don't think that had really any of the effect the way that Illinois' defense, Nebraska being off, those are much bigger things. The officiating was a much bigger question in the Michigan game, largely because of the Hoiberg, non-charge at the end of it. But the way it still gets officiated, the fact that you have these light touch fouls on one end in court and Sanford is just getting grabbed every single play, that Hoiberg, who never talks about officiating, does, like, that should matter to some level.
Yeah, it definitely does. There's 2 things about that. Number one, the off-ball stuff is just going to get called less. Like,
I get that.
Every single time. Number 2 is this is a problem that everybody in every league in America has to deal with. It is inconsistent. It's just,
I'm just saying,
inconsistent from game to game.
41 free throw differential in 1 week for a top 5 team will never happen.
No,
ever.
And you guys heard us last week. Like, my point on that was, I don't know if Nebraska should have gone to the free throw line more, but I'm pretty sure their opponent should have gone to the free throw line less.
That's how I felt about yesterday, too.
Yeah, it was probably a little bit of the same.
To swing the game, but Keaton Wagler, again, there's just fouls he's getting that do not exist in the court of basketball.
Yeah.
Like, they don't. Like, he throws himself to the floor, he gets rewarded for it. The 2 guys that hammered the 3-point shooter, legitimate fouls. Other ones, legitimate fouls. They probably should have shot 20 of them. Probably shouldn't have shot 28. Like, that's a huge difference.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. Now, once again, I do think the stats reflect the type of team that Illinois is compared to the type of team Nebraska
But they
is
weren't
as
getting
well.
those fouls going to the basket, other than Wagler. They were getting those fouls away from the basket over and over and over. Like, that's Nebraska got called for how many fouls in rebounding situations and loose ball fouls in the last week?
Well, more at Michigan than yesterday.
Right. No, I
much
agree.
more. Yeah.
But there still was not that many where guys were getting hacked on the way up.
Anecdotal. I guess you would have to look, or I don't know how you would look. You'd have to look at the shot chart. Like, I felt like,
I wish I could talk. I could explain myself more.
Yeah.
I'm having to choose words very specifically.
Well, I feel like, I don't know. I felt like most of the Illinois fouls that got called on were around or near the basket yesterday. Maybe not.
It's certainly not in, like, well, whatever. We don't have to spend that much time on it because, again, I don't think it costs Nebraska. Like, that's But the reality is they have to find ways to score where they're not going to get free throw calls in this conference.
So here's the stuff that reflects sort of the type of team Illinois was compared to the type of team Nebraska was, just to finish off this conversation. So Illinois yesterday, 9 of 12 on layups, 3 of 3 on dunks. So that's 12 of 15 near the rim. They got 11 offensive rebounds, which I think is the hidden stat of the game there, to get extra possessions out of that.
A lot of them.
Creating their 62 possessions on the game.
How many second chance points do they have?
10
Yeah.
second chance points, which creates almost the entire difference it creates the entire difference of the game, and 28 points in the paint. Nebraska 18 points in the paint, 7 of 12 on layups and dunks. So they got shots around the basket at a significantly less rate, and then 6 offensive rebounds. And you're not expecting Nebraska to out offensive rebound Illinois just with the style of team they are, but that just sort of shows you, okay, this is what you were, and Nebraska lost too many of those little things. So I think, in the big picture, for the people who are saying, hey, they need to lose, like, I don't see it from the weird jinx angles they were coming at it from. I saw it from this angle. If you could convince me on it, you could use this. You could say, I want to see how they get exposed. I want to see what their warts are. I want to see when they lose, how they lose. And I think the last 2 games obviously have been really, they've answered that question a little bit. Not so much the Michigan game, but certainly the game yesterday. And the answer mostly wrapped up in a sentence was, well, Illinois is a really, really good team, to wrap it all up in a sentence. But there's some stuff in there, like the possible shortcomings where you look at their positional sort of strength and length, like losing those little hustle plays when stuff was kind of going all in Illinois' way. And then here's a possible shortcoming: you don't have Keaton Wagler on your team.
Yeah, I mean, he's so good.
So, and I don't only say that facetiously. I also say it from the perspective of, Nebraska doesn't have their guy going right now, and that creates a different situation.
Yeah, I mean, he was huge. They're up 44-41. He hits a step back 3-pointer at that point. They had really kind of limited him in the first half, and then he sort of exploded in the second half. I mean, you look up, all of a sudden he's at 20.
Yeah,
finished 28, I think.
Yes,
that sounded about right.
Yep.
And I want to guess he had maybe 10 in the first half, and it was kind of a quiet 10. You largely kind of forced him into shots that he wasn't going to make. He hit like a really deep 3 at the end of a shot clock in the first half. That was big. But otherwise, I thought Nebraska did a really nice job on him. And, Illinois had some of their guys hit shots. The Davis guy hit 3 3-pointers or 2 3-pointers, plus he had the 2 fouls that he picked up 13 points. That's not someone you expect to do that to you with how you're playing defense. I just thought that they had way better ball movement. They did a much better job making Nebraska.
That's the way. I mean, you got it is as good, and that's why I say it was a little bit different yesterday, because Illinois got the positive results of this. I mean, the Nebraska's superpower this year has been when they are in rotation, they are still on top of it. Right. Like everybody else every other team in the country gets into rotation. It's like, oh God, we're vulnerable. Nebraska still has a man there almost every single time. And the only answer to beat that type of thing is to continue to pass it more and more and more and more, and faster and decisively. And I thought they just continued to do that. Right. And then they got the results to go their way. And I thought it broke Nebraska a little bit.
It did. I mean, Nebraska only forced 8 turnovers. There was multiple times where they were tipping balls and Illinois would still get them. I mean, this kind of speaks to what you're talking about. Everything was just a little bit off, even on the rotation. Like Mass was just a little slow getting to spots. Guys were a little slow getting to spots. And it's just a credit to Illinois. I mean, they had a great game plan. They executed it. Guys stepped up for them. And I think Nebraska will be fine coming out of this. But from their end, the best The best part of that game Sunday was Frager. I mean, he looked
He was awesome.
outstanding.
Yeah,
He really did.
he can get his shot. He's certainly not afraid to shoot it.
They had Illinois' inbound defense down pat. Like Nebraska, every time they were inbounding under their own hoop, basically had Frager run one direction or another. It'd be called out. Like I watched it happen. Sanford would call it out. Illinois would overload to one side. Frager get the ball in, fake one way, run to the opposite corner, be wide open for a three. They did that 4 times. He hit on 3 of them. Like Illinois never figured that out.
Here is a text from the 402. This will soon be the Connor Happer show when Schaefer's voice totally gives out. No, I have faith in Mike Schaefer. I think he's going to come around. You can see the glimpses. I can hear the glimpses.
Trying.
Others are wondering on the YouTube if they can get the flu through YouTube. Which that would be unfortunate because then I think pretty much everybody would have the flu.
Nobody wants that.
Everyone is sick right now. Homies be sick.
It's not the flu either.
It's not the flu, but
sinus cold just destroying me.
It's just that time of the year where it just hits you bad.
It sounds like the worst thing in the world at the moment. So Sal writes in 2 games they've lost and not blowouts or anything. Everyone calm down. Now, if
the top 10 teams, by the way.
Yeah, if I don't know, if you're concerned about Nebraska basketball right now, I mean, I understand, I guess, how the week could sort of shake the confidence if you were really on the train of like, oh, this team's going to just go undefeated and win the national championship or win the national championship or something like that. And, you know, they're still definitely in that conversation. But I think from the perspective of you get to see them when things aren't going like perfect in these 2 games. And the differentiator, right? The variable in both of those games were on Tuesday, you didn't have Frager or Mast. And on Sunday, you had half of Mast.
Right.
You were half Mast. And so I think that's, you know, that's one thing you could say, like, hey, give it a week. They're back at full strength, go on the road and get that win. And then, you know, gear back up for Purdue and see what happens.
The break likely comes at a good time for them.
It seems like it. It seems like it.
Little rest.
Yeah. And hopefully, you know, create a little edge to you as well after Illinois comes in on Sunday and they, as they wrote on the big whiteboard, rob the bank.
I mean,
potential controversy.
They did it.
They did. They robbed the bank. I'm not a huge Brad Underwood guy.
He's like that team in general, a tough hang.
Yeah.
They're very, very good.
Yeah.
They are not fun at all.
No.
Their fan base isn't fun. Their team isn't fun.
Yep.
Their superstar player isn't fun. And their coach spends every second of a TV timeout yelling at every official that walks by. Like every single one of them.
Rant gong on Illinois. We can talk about Wagler a little bit later on. The experience was interesting, I think, for people yesterday because he's one of the great stories of college basketball right now.
Too. Like he's the same player.
No, I don't disagree with you.
It's just we're more aware of him now.
Correct. I don't disagree with you, but yeah, people got to see it up close a little bit and maybe have some different thoughts on it. So we will have more on Nebraska basketball as we go on throughout the program today. Of course, we'll talk about the Blue Jays as well. We'll take a quick time out. Coming up next, our man of the weekend on 1620 The Zone. Well, before we get to our man of the weekend or people of the weekend, however you'd like to do it, that's up to you all. We have breaking news out of Gobbler's Knob. Punxsutawney Phil has made his call for 2026 in front of a bundled up crowd in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. The famous groundhog saw his shadow on Groundhog Day, the traditional sign that means winter will stick around for 6 more weeks. It's all over. There's only pain and sadness.
I think if you ask me right now, I would take 6 more weeks of winter if it means we don't have that late March snow dump or
It's bound to happen.
I think at this point we take whatever we I'm in take whatever we can get mode. This week looks great.
Yeah, this week really does.
If you told me that we could get just nice mild 40s and 50s this week instead of whatever the hell that was last week, I'll take the 3-day late March snow dump trade off. As long as it goes away fast, which it usually does. The ground is warmed up by then. So there we go. The long winter will never end. Now, I'm reading this off of AccuWeather.com. They are they compared Phil's prediction with AccuWeather's spring predictions. AccuWeather released its U.S. spring forecast last week, and long-range forecasters say most of the southern half of the country will see an early arrival of spring-like weather. This is from AccuWeather long-range expert Paul Pastelok. Quote, a slower transition to persistent spring warmth can occur from the northern Rockies to the northeast. So AccuWeather is saying that our dear little groundhog, Punxsutawney Phil, actually might be wrong. We will find out. And everyone lives in different places. So climates exist, and that somehow is difficult for people to comprehend.
It's really bad out east of here.
Yeah, they got the big snowstorm.
Cold.
Shout out to Phil, shout out to Bill Murray, shout out to everybody shout out to Ned Flanders or whatever that guy, Ned Ryerson. Shout out to all those people on Groundhog Day. Our man of the weekend. Does anybody want to volunteer to go first?
I can get mine out of the
way.
way.
All right, Schaefer,
as well.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, so I'm going to give it to Kevin O'Connell for successfully winning a power struggle up in Minnesota.
I saw the Quessy news, and I thought Schaefer's going to love this.
It came out that he wanted to retain. I don't know if any of this is true. It all feels like it's really put on after the fact. It came out that he wanted to move on from J.J. McCarthy, that they had a deal in the works for him to go to the Raiders. Sadly, that did not happen. Sounds like O'Connell didn't really want McCarthy, had him pushed on him. All results in Minnesota moving on from Quasey, their GM, Adolfo Mensa. He was horrible, to phrase it. If you go back and look at his drafts, they are atrocious.
I don't want to.
Really, really bad. And so Minnesota has won in spite of that. And ultimately, Kevin O'Connell has largely won the power struggle there. So
nice job, Kevin.
He gets to be the man of the week. I don't know if it's going to result in more wins.
Do you have any takes on him taking 3 weeks of paternity leave? That was the big. Did you see that part of the news story? Actually, it makes sense that you didn't. There was like this weird. I'll go back and find the source of this, but they were like, oh yeah, he tried to take 3 weeks of paternity leave, like right before draft time or something like that. And apparently people in the organization were happy about that. This has been a thing that has been brewing for quite some time now.
I didn't know. I missed that part of it.
Classic.
Most of it that I was reading was more or less just about the quarterback stuff in general, which is why he got fired.
Definitely the bigger issue.
Well,
definitely the bigger issue.
Yeah, I mean, babies in Minnesota this year were rough. I know O'Connell was unhappy about the timing of J.J. McCarthy's child. That's if you could pick such a thing.
Yeah.
So that might be an organizational thing that they have to kind of figure out.
Yeah, you got to work through that a little bit. Joey, what do you got?
I'm going to take a different route. I was thinking about the negative stuff like you were mentioning for your man of the weekend. I'm a little jealous that your Vikings made a decision because my Packers still haven't done anything. Anyway, who I'm not going to pick a person. It's going to be a network. And I think NBC is the
Oh!
big winners of the weekend. It's the start of their big week of sports. So yesterday was their opening Sunday night basketball. So they had their little intro music by Lenny Kravitz. He debuted the track, which is the reworked version of Elvis' Little Less Conversation,
Yeah.
which is updated for the NBA. But I thought it was a great opening soundtrack for.
So they got Costas out. It wasn't
Yeah.
AI Costas, but they got Costas. They put him on the floor, and he said all the things that he said in his very Bob Costas voice, and then he handed the baton to Maria Taylor, which I thought was actually that's a great use of Bob Costas.
But
no more.
But anyway, I thought they won. It's a great start for their big week because they got the Olympics coming up and then the Super Bowl on Sunday. It's going to be a real busy week for Mike Tirico. Busy next few weeks, but I honestly thought they won the week in general. Just a great start for that network.
Nice job by NBC. Joey loves TV so much he gave an award to a television conglomerate. Nice job.
Same ones that have Peacock.
The same ones that own Peacock.
Nick Stauskas gets an award.
NBA coverage, MLB coverage coming up in a couple months here for Sunday Night Baseball, and then of course the NFL. We could talk about that a little bit.
Olympics
too. The Olympics.
Sunday Night Baseball starts in June after
basketball.
Yeah, after the conference finals.
Yep. All right. So there you go. NBC is winning Joey's heart. I have an man of the weekend. Now
Richard Bisaccia.
It's not Richard Bisaccia.
Dang.
It is. All right. So many of you, if you're on Twitter, you got a direct message last week. Okay. I am not mad at the hackers. I am not mad at the hackers. Now, I'd rather they not do this, obviously.
This is a take.
I am not mad at the hackers. I am mad at the stupidity of the people who click on the link that they got the message from a person that they likely know, right? They're getting a DM from this person. And it says, hey, I'm going to win a podcast award. Click on this link and vote for me. If that doesn't raise 72 red flags the second you read it, the second you get it, and you say, I think I'll click on this link, and then immediately you're hacked after that, you're the problem. You're the problem. Now, I'm not saying that's why everyone got hacked that got hacked. That might not be the case. But if you clicked on that link, if you clicked on that link that was in that direct message from the person who said, I'm about to win a podcast award, please vote for me, you got problems. I don't know how you didn't see it. I'm not sure how that happened.
People need to be more judicious about the links that
Just
they click on.
If it smells bad, it's probably bad. Right? And I just don't know how you could have looked at that and said, this smells good. I think I'll click on this link. What a great idea.
I think you're letting the hackers off the hook, though.
No, I'm mad at the hackers. I suppose I'm mad at the hackers, but I wanted to direct my anti-people of the weekend to the people who actually clicked on the link.
Just don't fall for the horse crap.
Hackers, stop hacking. Yes, please don't fall for the what?
Horse crap call.
Thank you. I will not. All right, that's our man of the weekend. We'll be back 7 o'clock hour, plenty to come on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. Excuse me, 7 o'clock hour. Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. As always, plenty going on over at 1620thezone.com. But on 1620 The Zone, we got you covered for Omaha Supernovas tickets this week. They are back at home next Thursday against Dallas. That is the 12th, and you can listen to our dear friends John and Josh this week on Unsportsmanlike Conduct and Nick, by the way, for a chance to win your way into the game. Nick Grimm, of all people, had the best seat in the house to the basketball game in Lincoln yesterday.
Oh yeah, did you see the little Robin Washut little video? And he just
I did.
pulled a little Bigfoot just walking right behind, and
It was pretty
he was
funny.
all bundled up.
Nick was wearing his big Carhartt jacket and, looked like he didn't know where he was going because he probably didn't. Because
He didn't have his
McLaren.
McLaren hat on, and
I don't know. I think he was wearing a hat, actually. I don't know what
I don't think
he
was.
kept it. He kept
Or-
it pretty
or
low
maybe.
key. But he was
didn't want to get mobbed.
he was courtside working with Illinois radio yesterday.
Wow, good
Yeah.
for Nick.
He was Mr. Desk's proxy.
He was nearby Kevin and Nick.
That's right.
Yeah,
Who
he
did
was-
an excellent job, much better than Paul and Nick.
One of those Nick seems like a professional broadcaster.
Yes.
One of them did not.
No. Indeed. So I'm curious. Once again, I don't know what I don't know what their plans are today on the Today Show. Obviously, they're gonna go back through the Grammys last night. But back in my day, they used to take Punxsutawney Phil live from Gobbler's Knob. Like they used to take him live. We
Yep.
missed it. I want to see some coverage. I want to see some clips. I haven't seen any pictures or any videos yet.
He'd
All
like
they
the
can talk about
groundhog
is
to be
this.
interviewed.
Yeah, all they can talk about is the stupid Grammys.
Yeah.
I want Punxsutawney Phil. It's Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day. And yet I see nothing.
Maybe they're talking about hot new artist Chapel Roan.
Maybe they are. Good job. She had a very, very, very revealing dress last night.
That's what the YouTube was saying.
Yes. Very revealing. I assume it will be a topic of conversation out there in the world today. All right. So welcome back here, 7 o'clock hour. Plenty to come today, including some visits from our esteemed guests, Tim Verghese and Michael Bruntz, in the 8 and 9 o'clock hours, respectively. Not a guest today on the show, Evan Bland, but at some point we'll have Evan on. He wrote a story over the weekend about Anthony Calandria. I got to know more about this guy. By the way, Nebraska has spring ball in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So get ready.
Coming fast.
Yeah, lock in. It is time for football, and or maybe it's not. And you could just think about basketball that entire time. That's fine. But I will have football in the back of my head throughout these next couple weeks, and then as we go into March. And the key variable, the key factor in all of it is assumed Nebraska quarterback Anthony Calandria. And Evan wrote a story about him in the World Herald over the weekend, talked to a variety of different people who sort of surrounded him. And there's mostly the story is about how he's got moxie, which I really appreciate. I do think Nebraska needs a little bit of juice inside of the program and things like that. But there are also people who were close to him who had some very, very interesting things to say, like one of them being he's Lamar Jackson. It's like Lamar Jackson 2.0.
Wow. That
Which is very high praise, regardless of our conversation about Lamar Jackson.
The corner Lamar Jackson. He talks really fast. Is that what we're getting?
No, I think they're talking about the quarterback.
That seems.
I think they're talking about the quarterback.
The Heisman winning quarterback.
It's so crazy. Yes, the Heisman winning quarterback. It's so crazy because nothing about his game has changed. Everything he's been doing now, he's been doing it since those young days. He's like a Lamar Jackson 2.0. When he was 11, he wrote a letter to a teacher that he would play at Oklahoma and win the Heisman Trophy, his first helmet for tackle ball became an all-time Christmas present. And then he talked about his journey and things like that. And it's not surprising for people around any player to be like, yeah, I think of the world of this guy. He's got the craziest, he's really, really good inside of his own head and all those different things. What do we think about this? Because I sense a reluctancy to be gobbled up by the hype monster this offseason.
So you're pushing back.
I don't like to hear it personally. But I do like the moxie. Like I do think Nebraska needs that. I think they need a quarterback with a little bit of juice. I think they need a quarterback who says, all right, get on my back and let's go. Like, I think that's important for where Nebraska is at right now. It doesn't, however, answer any of the main questions I have about the offense and its direction. And certainly there's nothing about who Calandria is from a football player standpoint that really gives you many clues, because he is sort of a boomer bust type of guy. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of turnovers in the game. There's a lot of explosive plays in the game. There's a lot of running in the game and things like that. And honestly, I think it muddies the waters even further about what Nebraska's offense could, should, will be this upcoming season. And so that makes for a bit of a dangerous cocktail for me to consume. But I do like the moxie. I will say that. I like the confidence.
What comparison would you have appreciated more?
Ooh.
Johnny Manziel?
Well, I would have been able to see that more, I guess.
The Lamar one's tough.
Yeah, the Lamar one is
tough.
Is a little bit tricky. That's for sure. No, I mean, so
I'm trying to even come up with somebody that, because he's slighter in build than those guys.
Yes.
And so
even in Lamar was skinny.
Maybe Manziel from a physical standpoint is closer, but
yeah, because Manziel was shorter, and he's and Calandria is shorter.
Keaton Wagler, maybe.
He's Keaton Wagler in terms of his skinniness.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
But he's not 6'6". He's about 6 feet tall, maybe even less than that.
Yeah, I would guess he's shade under.
Yeah. And there was a section of the story about how they crossed paths, how Calandria crossed paths with Curt Cignetti at one point. Curt Cignetti scowled Evan Rice, some Virginia kid, just made a mess of his secondary. 2.5 years before Cignetti became an all-time college football story at Indiana, he had no answers for Calandria in a track meet between James Madison and Virginia. Calandria made his first college start September 9th, 2023, filling in for an injury at quarterback against James Madison, that they ended up finishing 11-2 that year. He completed 20 of 26 passes for 377 yards and 2 touchdowns, fitting balls into tight windows and extending plays and finding receivers in space. Only a James Madison score with under a minute left secured a Duke's victory. James Madison beat Virginia on that day. Cignetti said, quote, "We also let a freshman quarterback throw for about 360. So we've got to tighten our pass coverage up." So there's the story about the one time that Calandria played against Curt Cignetti, the star.
That feels like a vintage offseason. You look through.
He played against Curt Cignetti.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Let's
Which
take a closer look.
Would not have been a story had this happened, even maybe last year. Do you think?
No, he's a much bigger deal now after winning the
Certainly,
national championship. Yeah, I would think so. So I don't know. The big picture here is I don't still know what to expect. We had this conversation last week as it pertains to the offense, but I also think there's a little bit in here, and we saw this yesterday with a very specific thing. So let's transition into this. As I said before, I think people are more weary right now, and maybe more weary than most late Januaries into February, about getting gobbled up by the hype monster. They do not want to hear anything as it pertains to Nebraska football being good at this exact moment. And I think we saw an example of this yesterday at Pinnacle Bank Arena when the high-flying act of the Nebraska football team went out to do dunks at halftime.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that has been met with the greatest reception in the world. In fact, I don't think they should really do it anymore. I think at first they added it in as a like helpful thing to help get basketball some more attention, and like, you know, you have a little bit of that conversation. And now I think you hear from Nebraska ball fans, and and the most sentiment you hear is, football team, stay away. Get away from my basketball team, because that is my baby right now, and football has some bad stink on it at the moment. All of it goes into this conversation regarding just how people feel about the football team at the moment.
I would have guessed it had more to do with the 20 missed dunk attempts that occurred.
Yeah, it's just not a particularly
Probably.
fun thing to do
Yeah.
either.
Oh my goodness, that it was that bad for the,
They cut it up on social media for it to like look okay. Like, well, I've only seen the one dunk from Quinn Clark where he jumped over the guy,
Yeah, that was pretty good.
and that was
a
it.
highlight. Connor Schutt had a nice one.
Okay,
And
and then they missed 20 others.
Who was it? Jeremiah Charles, I think, missed his first 5 attempts.
Okay,
And then he just threw one down to be done.
Mm.
And then Keelan Smith, I think, missed a few.
Yeah. I don't think we need to do that anymore.
And then the finals was just both guys missing their like marquee attempt 4 times.
Go get the pogo stick guys. They were in town.
Well, I think it's a larger conversation that Nebraska doesn't really do halftime shows anymore. It's usually just 4th graders playing basketball, because the athletic department has a lot of low effort energy when it comes to the halftime show now.
They've had some good ones. We've had some good ones for women's basketball this year. I mean, yes, there have been a lot of 4th graders playing basketball. That much is true. But I think last week we had the pogo sticks. The pogo sticks were at Creighton on Saturday. Haven't seen an appearance from the big one yet, from Red Panda.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, if you want a big halftime performer for a big game, you get Red Panda out there. That's
not her, not Sladek.
We haven't had Sladek. I don't know the update. I don't know the status on Sladek. He's
Right,
a very old
exactly.
man. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know how many times he
Has
has
the
to do shows.
unicycle family been through?
I haven't seen the unicycle fam. Oh, maybe they did come through. I know that Simon Says guy was there. I love Simon Says guy.
He was early,
Very
in the
early, like
season,
first
yeah.
weekend.
Yep.
My guy Steve Max. But I mean, yeah. So that's, I guess, a separate conversation. But there does. I sense, Schaefer, I don't know about you. Like, I sense more of a pessimism for Nebraska football right now than almost certainly at any point in the rule era. And I'm not saying that any of this is undeserved or anything like that. But I'm trying to think of when I felt Nebraska fans sort of like, and maybe it's the confluence of with Nebraska ball having success as well, but people are just like, I don't want to hear this right now.
Sure.
That's the way I sense. If I'm wrong, let me know. Like, if I'm reading the room wrong, let me know. But that's in general how I feel like it's going.
Is it pessimism as much as it seems to be like resignation? I think there's just a lot of people resigned to the idea that they're probably at best 6-6, 7-5.
Yeah.
And so you know that, and it's January, or you think you know that. It's what, January or February 2nd. Like,
Groundhog Day.
tough place to be.
Yeah, no doubt. And so it's I don't know. It's just one of those things right now where they probably can't do or say anything right, and
Which actually works to their advantage.
I'm great with it. Like, I think that's how you spin it forward. That's the next thing off of this. Like, hey, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for Nebraska football to just be completely off of everybody's radar for an extended period of time, and then maybe you could come back and spring ball rolls around or whatever it might be, like, and you get actually excited for it again, and you don't have to like convince yourself, or you don't have to drag yourself to whatever, opportunity you have, you see the team or read the coverage or anything like that. But like, I noticed it yesterday, and then I was sort of thinking about it with this Calandria story, and I was like, why isn't why isn't this quote getting more run? Nobody's really talking about this. Somebody called him Lamar Jackson 2.0. I would have thought the hype monster would have just been all over this thing. And then I saw the dunk contest and the reaction to the dunk contest yesterday, and I thought, oh, people just are not hearing it right now.
I mean,
at all.
The basketball team is just taking up so much of that,
and that's a good thing,
right?
Like,
it should.
That's a good thing. Like it needs to be. And yeah, there was this.
They're 20-2.
There was almost a sense of I don't want the football team to be near the basketball team at this moment, which is an interesting sort of phrase. I think basketball, like diehard Nebraska basketball fans have sort of always been like that.
Yeah,
there's always been sort of a territorialism, I think, there. But especially now that they're good, it's just like, stay away.
Yeah, no
away.
doubt about it.
Yep. All right. I want to hear from you guys. 402-951-1620 on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. Let's get to some texts. Football from the 402. Football killed basketball and Mike Schaefer's vocal cords.
Man, could it be true?
I think actually basketball might be more responsible, unless when you went to the game yesterday, you spent most of your time yelling at the fact that they missed all those dunks at halftime.
No, did not yell at halftime.
What would you say you yelled at the most? Refs? Paul Sells?
It was probably the avalanche that Nebraska poured on at the end of the first half.
Okay.
So Tominaga comes on the screen at like the under 4 timeout.
Love it.
And says whatever he says, and then Nebraska just kind of goes off. And there was a lot of yelling. The roof came off of that place on the Sanford 3.
Yeah.
With 30 some seconds left or whatever. And then he had the opportunity. He got blocked like right before half. But if that would have went in, if he gets that shot off, that place would have just been delirious.
And then you would have went into the dunk contest at halftime.
Yeah. I mean,
it would have almost been as good as the Superstars, like reverse Superstars.
Superstars dunking, perhaps.
Don't want to save that energy for that dunk contest.
There was a NBA team that had their halftime was regular people using a trampoline to attempt to dunk.
Yeah. Regular people, like untrained.
Just people coming in off of the.
Oh my God.
It was amazing. Nobody came close.
No, there's no way. Nobody could do that.
And this guy did the Jordan thing where he's sailing and he misses it by 3 feet and just belly flops straight down.
Yeah.
That would have been better.
It's actually harder than it looks.
Oh, yeah. You have to have the physical ability to hit the trampoline and then launch.
Mustache Adam writes saying, if I wasn't watching on YouTube today, I would think that Doc Rivers is co-hosting.
Yeah, he's not doing too good right now at Milwaukee.
It's pretty good.
He's not doing too good.
I'll take your word for it, Joey. Jordan writes saying, no coincidence that the game went to bleep last night when the bleepy football team even touched the floor. That is a large sentiment, a large piece of the sentiment from what I heard from people yesterday regarding football and their attitude on football. It's stay away.
Yeah, I mean,
stay away from. Don't get your stank on me.
Everything you touch. Trying to think of the phrase.
Turns to poop instead of turns to gold.
Yeah,
it turns to poop.
Turns into horse crap.
Exactly. That's right. All right. We'll take a quick time out here. We'll be back after this on 1620 The Zone. But first, a word from our friends at Underdog Fantasy. Football's biggest game is coming up, and you can get in on all the action right here with Underdog, and you could do it in the state of Nebraska. Not on Underdog yet? Then you are in luck, because new customers score $75 in fantasy bonus entries when you make your first $5 fantasy entry. Playing on Underdog is so easy. Just pick whether you want your favorite players to go higher or lower. Stats like touchdowns, rushing yards, receptions, and more. You get those right, you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. Plus, there's new promos that are going to be dropping daily before the game. So if you like making picks and if you like winning money, then Underdog is the place for the big game. Take a look at Drake May, higher or lower than 222.5 pass yards, or Jackson Smith and Jigba, higher or lower than a half of a rushing plus receiving touchdown. Yeah, I like higher on maybe both of those. So Check them out on Underdog. What are you waiting for? Download the app and use promo code HAPPER1620 to score $75 in fantasy bonus entries when you play your first $5 on fantasy. That's promo code HAPPER1620. Underdog. Big picks. Win money. Must be 19 plus. At present, Nebraska terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/playing get terms _DFS_.html for details. Consider with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. All right, welcome back. Monday morning on Happer and Schaefer, 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer with you. Back from weekend of basketball. Of course, we'll dive more into Nebraska basketball coming up as we go on throughout the show today. If you missed our conversation earlier, you could go find it. It's up, 1620thezone.com or in your podcast feed. Let's talk about the Blue Jays for a few minutes here. Woof.
That was
It
tough.
wasn't always woof, though.
It wasn't always woof. You mean for that game?
Yeah, I mean,
You
there
like for
was-
the first 12 minutes? Yeah.
I felt like it was the under 4, and that's when it really shifted. And
Yep.
then second half started, and they just couldn't
Yep.
throw it in the ocean.
Yeah, the last 2 minutes, I think, of the first half just killed them.
Yeah, that's basically that sequence.
You know,
Basically, the 2 long droughts they had, that 4.5 minutes at the end of the first half where they only had 3 free throws, and then that 6-minute stretch during the second half that was carried over from UConn's big run. That really, really projected them to beat Creighton big.
you could tell. At least I could. I think even when things were going well and Creighton was sort of hanging in there, that they were going to need. And I thought going into the game, and we said it on Friday, like, hey, they're going to need some magic here. It was pretty clear to me that UConn was getting whatever shot they wanted on the offense, and they were just going to keep falling. Even when Creighton was, in the mix there, tying the game, Jason had the big dunk. And it's exciting in the moment, but I'm thinking, this is probably still not going to go in Creighton's direction. And it most certainly did not. The Blue Jays went 18 of 44 from the field, shooting 41% for the field and 24% for three, 5 of 21. UConn made 16 threes, 16 of 31. And I still saw some people who were like, of course. And keep in mind, UConn hadn't been playing very well, especially offensively, as of late. And so they were maybe, the conventional wisdom would say, hey, maybe we're due for a game like that. But I'm telling you, they were open for almost the entirety of the game. I mean,
the Creighton defense is not great.
I was the shot quality. I wondered about what it was for a couple games ago, and I wondered what the shot quality was in the first half of Nebraska and Michigan, when it just felt like both sides could get whatever they wanted. I mean, I'm sure UConn's was pretty high up there for the entirety of the game on Saturday evening. Just a painful day. And, as it was starting to go south, great crowd, 18,000 plus, pink out. We'll talk about that. But, as it sort of started to unravel, I made sure to watch Jason Green very closely. And just because, you have to admire what he's doing out there. He is really having a tough time right now. I mean, it is difficult for Jason Green to get probably, 6, 7, 8 minutes straight without, he's getting bumped and hit. His shoulders, after he had the dunk, which was an incredible in transition dunk, and I think it tied the game at 28 at that point. He goes back on defense, and he's doing the thing where he's backpedaling back and he's trying to pump the crowd up. He's doing it with one hand, right? Like he's using only his right arm to pump up the crowd. Usually that would be a 2-arm job there, pumping up the crowd, and he's just doing it with one. I feel horrible for him. Hey, look, there's Punxsutawney Phil finally. He is not even close to healthy. And he continues to be the most important guy out there still, but they can't, Max said something along the lines last week of hey, you just made a decision at this point to just sort of power through. And I wonder, I in the back of my head, I do wonder if it continues to get bad it's already pretty bad for Creighton. But if it sort of continues to spiral down this path, I wonder, if there's a point where he shuts it down. I wonder if there's a point where they shut him down. Like, I don't know what that looks like. Hopefully that's not a decision that they have to come to in the back couple weeks of the season here. But I watch him for like a few possessions in a row, and I'm like, oh man, this is not fun. This is not fun for him. Because this has been, and to go back to the larger picture conversation for Creighton, the Owen Freeman thing has not worked, and you were thin in the post anyway, and you have guys in and out of the lineups, and you're doing different things. I mean, they have been playing Jason Green defensively as if he is Ryan Kalkbrenner almost the entire season. He's been playing a drop 5 almost the entire season. And you could say, yeah, maybe they just shouldn't be in the drop. They are not positionally strong enough elsewhere to not be doing that. And he holds up generally. He is not the shot blocker, obviously, that Kalkbrenner was, or the shot
had 2 on Saturday.
Right.
Yeah.
And not the shot alterer that Kalkbrenner was, but he is able to wall up, absorb contact, and continue to do his job at like a decent enough rate so Creighton's not a leaking sieve down there when he's not on the floor. But you can see what happens when he's not on the floor. Their defense completely changes, and it's not like it was a very good defense in the first place. And so that's, UConn got whatever look they wanted. And don't get me wrong, it's one of the best teams in the country. I wasn't super impressed by him, especially when you compare him to like last year UConn, 2 years ago UConn, 3 years ago UConn, whatever it might be. Like, I think I've seen better UConn teams come into that building. But they pick Creighton apart. There's no doubt about it.
Some of it is you gotta have defensive resistance, and Creighton just doesn't right now.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw this history between UConn and Creighton, but I mentioned this on Blue Jay Overtime with Matt. But going into 12 games now, this is the most UConn has scored on the Blue Jays. The second most was the first matchup in that overtime loss in the COVID season. So all the games they played against each other, Ryan Kalkbrenner was in that game.
He was present. Yeah, that was the
present.
first ever Creighton UConn game without Kalkbrenner.
Yeah, and Dan Hurley said after the game he's very thankful he
ever.
Can't. Yeah. Yep. And Hurley said
a stat.
They've been in the conference since 2020.
Yep,
that is a stat.
Yeah.
Wow.
And basically, Hurley was very thankful. He said this in the post game, but he's very thankful that Kalkbrenner can't come back to Creighton.
Yeah, he goes. The judges here, they wouldn't bleep and do that. They can't do that. For the record, he is out of eligibility. He has exhausted his eligibility at this point. I suppose you could go back for the waiver and things like that.
Who knows?
No. Who knows? I suppose. But yeah, it's a sad sort of state of affairs, I think, for the Blue Jays right now, who gave up. You're giving up, I think it was 13 offensive rebounds. You're having a difficult time scoring the basketball, obviously, as well. If you don't have a day in which you're shooting it extremely well from beyond 3, it's just going to be really difficult for Creighton to win basketball games. I thought, they're going to have to be the type of team that outscores you 90 to 89 or whatever it might be. 58 ain't going to do it for you. And obviously UConn has a lot to do with that. It is for some of their warts offensively, it is an excellent defensive team. They have sort of everything 1 to 5 in that regard. And they're a threat to go deep. Didn't quite get the magic. Did not quite get the magic on Saturday in Omaha. But for the morning crowd, I have said this before on the on the midday show. So maybe you're new here. We mentioned Hurley before. So Hurley's out there after the game, and he comes in and it's like you would have thought that. Trying to find a better analogy than the president. You would have thought that a Bad Bunny was about to walk out of the tunnel.
What?
You would have thought that Bad Bunny was about to walk out of the tunnel. I mean, you should have seen the people piled into that tunnel. Everybody with the phone on planet Earth was into that tunnel, and the student section is obviously waiting. The student section was excellent on Saturday, by the way. And they're just waiting for Hurley to walk out of the tunnel, and he does, and he does so with his chin held high and you know, kind of listening to it all and taking it all in. I love watching the guy. And then they win. They beat the living hell out of Creighton. And after the game, after doing a very long interview and a long hug with Donnie Marshall, by the way, he takes pictures with everybody and everybody's doing like, he didn't leave the court for at least 15 minutes after the game ended, taking pictures with people and whatever it might be. So once again, for those who haven't heard this before, I like Dan Hurley. I think he's very fun.
Good for the sport.
He's passionate.
He's definitely good for the sport. He is like, I think most of what he's doing is not necessarily a bit, because I do think he's wired that way. But when he's not on the court and when he's not, you know, the most intense yelling person that you've ever seen, he seems to be a pretty reasonable person who, like, is not afraid to call his own team out, is not afraid to call, you know, variety of different things out. And he's not afraid to say, hey, man, we got our butts kicked by, you know, X team or Ryan Kalkbrenner or whatever it might be. Like, I enjoy listening to him talk about basketball. And you only get that, admittedly, when he's not on the floor coaching and yelling at officials and berating officials constantly. That's his sort of thing. But all the other times, I'm like, yeah, I really mess with this guy. I think he's hilarious. And obviously, yeah, no doubt about it, he's good for the game.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have characters in this sport. Otherwise, if everybody's the same bland, boring coach, it's, you know, who wants that?
Yeah, and there's like,
plus there's fun when he comes to your town.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. And he I think approaches the, you know, the adversarial relationship with the Creighton the previous adversarial relationship with the Creighton fans really well. He's just like, yeah, I get it. You know,
he's someone who enjoys life. I mean, that's got to be.
I think so. Even though he constantly seems frustrated about things, but yeah, he definitely does. I like him. I've always liked him. I'm not new to this train. It feels like more people are joining me on this, though. It's not like I want to sit there and, you know, he doesn't need to win or anything like that. I'm not rooting for him, but I like that. I like what he's got going on.
Yeah.
I'm not rooting for him, but I like him.
Back to Creighton. What are your thoughts on Hudson Greer and like kind of how he's being used? Because he didn't come in until things were really out of hand in the second half.
Yeah.
It was like a 19-point game already at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know how to sort of read into that situation. He only played 10 minutes. You know, I think they have a lot of different lineup combinations that they have been trying and using and all those different things. I don't think you were in like, hey, let's think about the future mode.
Right.
Maybe until now. And him staying is definitely something that you want.
Could his injuries still be affecting him?
I don't think so.
He was,
without knowing particularly what it was, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's just interesting because he was utilized more in the non-conference than he really has been, even in these games against Marquette and UConn, where the result really, you know, wasn't in doubt. Yeah, they pulled away, and he still only played 20 minutes last week.
Yeah, and but you know, at the same time, like, first of all, in the second half, you're getting smashed, right? And so there's going to be different lineup combinations on the court for that. You're trying to, you're like, I thought for moments in that game, Blake Harper was the best option that Creighton had. And so, you know, similar type of situation with those two guys. You have to have a big presence in there. What do you do with Trout, especially when Trout's not making threes? Like, it's been a struggle all year. And Hudson, I think, is one of the victims of it. Like, there has been just a bunch of different lineup combinations, and a lot of them haven't. You know, I think they're throwing stuff at the wall, probably from a lineup perspective. They have been for the majority of the year, and seeing what sticks. And the truth of the matter is, it's a different thing every game. I mean, it is the underlying inconsistency that has been around with this team the entire year. I don't like when I walk into the building that day, I can't tell you who the guy is going to, who's going to drop 15 points in a day.
Right.
I would have told you a couple weeks ago that it would have been Austin Swartz.
He had a rough game.
And he's been,
Dix was scoreless.
Yeah, Josh Dix had nothing.
Owen Freeman played
as I thought that he would, and I thought he was fine in his minutes that he had. He had 7 points in the game. But that's a story with everybody. Like if you had one of those kind of those line graphs, those line charts that had each of the players hooked up to a line, they would just be, I mean, it would be this interweaving spider web of lines that would be crossing the entire thing. There's no there wouldn't be many parallel lines on there. So it's been difficult for them to
do you
out.
See them pulling out of this?
Out of this?
Like back-to-back 20-point losses.
Well, I mean, I think they'll win more games. Like I don't think they are just like circling the drain and going to spiral all the way down. I think
circling the drain.
You
That's
do.
what I think is happening here.
Mike Schaefer is circling the drain, but I mean, it's just going to be really hard for them to win basketball games because their offense isn't very good right now, and their defense just isn't very good.
That's what I mean.
And they're banged up.
So
there's no easy.
But I think there's a difference in between how good are they and are they checked out, right?
I don't think they're checked out.
Okay.
It's more. What are they? 12 and 11 now.
12 and 10. Yeah.
Can they get to 16?
Yeah. You have Georgetown, Seton Hall, 2 against DePaul. Still a return trip from Villanova. A home game with Providence, a road game with Butler, and then the road trip to UConn and St. John's too. So those games seem quite far out of reach at this point. Right. But yeah, I think they could grab 4 or 5 more wins in this thing. But it's going to be around 500 in the Big East.
It feels that way, yeah.
Around 500 in the Big East for a 15, 16, win type of team. And it's just, if their offense isn't really, 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 really good, they're going to have a very difficult time trying to win basketball games.
Yeah.
Very difficult time. John writes in on the text line, is Creighton even going to make the Crown? I don't know. I mean, I think the Crown got shortened up this year. There's less teams in the Crown.
Oh, wow.
So it's possible that they don't.
So they were 16 last year?
Yeah, I think they're down to
8.
Yeah, check me on that, Joey. I think we're down to 8 teams in the Crown now. But I think they tightened that sucker up. And so, if you do the math
it's going to be an 8-team field.
If you do the math for the Big East, UConn, St. John's, and Villanova are very likely all going to the NCAA tournament. And then Seton Hall sits kind of on that bubble right now. Could Creighton be the first team that gets left out of the NCAA tournament? Maybe. Seton Hall doesn't seem like a likelihood or a definitive NCAA tournament team at this point. They could be a Big East representative. I don't know if we're talking about 2 Big East teams or 3 Big East teams or 4 Big East teams or how many Big Ten teams are going to be in that as well. But yeah, they're going to have to probably fight to stay on that line.
Yeah, it will be 2 teams from the Big 10, Big 12, and Big East, and then plus 2 additional at-large teams.
Thank you. So 2 from Big East, Big 12, Crown bracketology. 2 from Big East, Big 12, and Big 10, and then 2 from anywhere else or from one of those conferences.
2 at large.
But it has to be from any of from those conferences or anywhere.
Anywhere.
Okay.
I was assuming those conferences because I was thinking it was a TV broadcast.
Kind of what I thought.
Well, not the SEC, ACC, but I think anywhere.
You mean any of those 3 conferences?
I think weren't
right.
there teams from like the Mountain West in there last year for the
Boise
Crown?
State was.
So I guess I'm talking about those type of conferences like the Mountain
so any
West,
team
West
involved
Coast.
with Fox, any conference
that way.
involved with
Yeah.
Fox.
Yeah.
Anyone that takes the call, really.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. I cannot answer that question in the affirmative at this moment. That's for sure. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Joey has the headlines on 1620 The Zone. All right. Sources say that we have some interesting headlines today. Now, the story that we got from VJ, it didn't actually have a headline unless you found the story.
I kind of found something, but I couldn't get access because you would have to get a subscription. So I
local news is dead.
So I kind of made one up.
Okay, that works
for that first one.
I mean, this is your game. It's your rules, Joey. Feel free. I love it. And then we have another one as well. So for those of you not familiar, Joey reads us a couple of headlines, or he reads Mike Schaefer a couple headlines. Maybe we need to get you a buzzer today, or like a bell, instead of using your voice. You could be like Hector Salamanca.
Yes, exactly.
Ding, 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 ding. Honk, honk. There you
Should
go.
I do the twitching with my face?
Yeah. Yes, you should. All right. What do we got, Joey? Hit me.
Okay, the first one, want to give a special thanks to VJ Goff for the idea, or for sharing this.
Looks great.
North Olmsted Police Department post warns community of piggyback bandit causing chaos.
Piggyback bandit. Schaefer's dinging his bell. Schaefer is dinging his bell.
Yeah.
Okay.
That thing.
Just give us the other headline to see what we missed.
Okay,
today.
the other headline is man arrested on federal charges linked to stolen Auburn plane while flying high on meth.
Wow.
Interesting. Those are two winners.
Yep. Some weeks.
I still like the piggyback bandit.
Yep.
I would have still chosen that one, but boy, that made it interesting.
It really did.
It
All right.
did.
Piggyback it up.
Alrighty, so this is a public service announcement from the police department. So this is what it says on 1-2726. We dealt with Sherwin Shagan at a local hotel. While speaking to us, Shagan was proud to tell us that he was known as the piggyback bandit and went as far to show us Google results. At first glance, it looked harmless enough, but after we cleared the call, we looked further into it. All information provided here is publicly available with an internet search. You can search him up and you can see all the shenanigans he's been coming into.
Him.
But Shagan is known for jumping on the backs of high school athletes after sporting events without their consent. Not a good idea. Shagan will sometimes steal school uniforms in order to have access to the teams as a water boy. Also, another bad idea. Information online paints a different picture as we consider Shagan a threat to the community. Depending on the sources, he has been banned from sporting events statewide in at least 8 states. I don't know what states, but I'm sure Ohio's included on one of them.
Seems like it.
Shagan told us that he was flying out of Ohio on 1/28/26, but that was not true, as Fairview Park Police Department had just dealt with him within the hour. Based on Shagan's history, he was trespassed from the schools and sporting events by the North Olmsted Police Department, which he stated he understood and would comply with. North Olmsted City Schools have been made aware of Shagan, and there is no evidence that there has been any of the schools. Their SROs have also been advised and are proactively watching for him.
Okay. So here we have the piggyback bandit, Sherwin Shagan, as Joey mentioned.
I hope I pronounced that name right.
I would hope so. I mean, I'll go with it. His bit is he just really likes to jump on the backs of high school athletes. It is quite the bit. It's very, very odd, but apparently he has done this in 8 states, as Joey mentioned. Here are some of them: Washington, North Dakota, Montana, Minnesota, and Iowa. He has been doing this for years now. Somebody on Grantland wrote a profile about him several years ago.
Yeah, I saw something from 2019, 2018. So it's been going on for years.
So other than that, we have no information. But that is a lot of information.
There is a massive story on the life and times of the piggyback bandit.
Right. Was it from Grantland? Was it from Brian Curtis?
No, it's from Christopher Bartle.
Okay. All right.
It's just reading the intro. I will be reading this after the show.
Yeah, this is not good. You do not want
No.
a random person sneaking into your gyms wearing jerseys and only to be able to jump on the backs of high school athletes.
He was like posing as a reporter, and then the subject left the interview, and he jumped on his back as he was leaving.
This
Oh,
is not
boy.
good.
Yeah.
His mug shots are kind of funny as well.
Yeah.
they're quite something.
There you go. Watch out for the piggyback bandit. Hopefully he does not come to a town near you.
Strike in the city near you.
Yeah, hopefully
It's a far distance from Cleveland to Omaha, so hopefully.
Well, but
No,
if
he
he's
was
been
in Washington,
spotted
so
in
he's already
Iowa,
traversed it.
he's
Yeah.
been spotted in Iowa, then we got a little bit closer of a problem. All right. Thanks for the headlines, Joey. We'll take a break. Be back halfway home on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. Welcome back. 8 o'clock here on Happer and Schaefer, 1620 The Zone, and on 1620thezone.com. I can't help but notice that every day that we've done this show so far, this is show number 16. This is by far the 16th best voice that Mike Schaefer has had. But I can't help but notice that the sun is a little brighter, a little earlier every day. That's the positive about starting a new show that starts at 6 o'clock in the morning in the dead of winter. You only go up from here.
It's not gray outside. It's very light, and we're getting more sunlight day by day until middle of summer.
It's amazing. There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Definitely hoping to go up from here. Definitely hoping.
I hope that this is your worst voice
ever.
I hope this is the worst
bad.
voice that you will ever have, whether it be on the radio or not.
Yeah, this is not great. I don't recall dealing with this a lot, which is weird to me. But here we are, and we're making the most of it.
Mr. Phlegm, Mike Schaefer.
Yeah. Been fun.
Got a YouTube comment here from I always forget. Andy. This is Andy. Can't someone bring Schaefer a medicine ball tea from Starbucks? Oh, maybe I could get my roids guy.
Ooh.
Yeah, I get my roids guy on you.
Never had it.
I felt like you at the College World Series 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden I was
got on the steroids.
I was back. Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Get a burst of energy,
and that wasn't even like the other option was the Z-Pack thing.
Mm-hmm.
That would have like shot me off to the moon, like those people that are going to the moon this week.
It's interesting. I don't think I lack energy. I just can't talk, which is not great for the job.
We're going to the moon this week?
Yeah. Space travel's back.
Is it?
I don't think
they're gonna step foot, or are they just gonna circle around it?
That they are landing on the moon this week. I think they are just going around the moon.
They're gonna orbit. Okay.
Artemis 2 is coming up. I think it's this week, and they're going to fly up there, go around the thing, and come back. I don't know what they're doing on Artemis 2.
See when the space launch is, then we could because don't they usually do the launches in the mornings? Because if it's during the weekday morning,
February 8th or 9th, 2026.
Okay, so Sunday or Monday.
Hopefully, yeah. Maybe we'll be able to track it a week from today on the show. Well, I'm excited for that. To the moon we go, ladies and gentlemen. To the moon we go. But hopefully, Mike Schaefer's voice goes to the moon like a stonk, up, 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 up. And we appreciate you all being with us here on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. Let's talk about Nebraska basketball a little bit more. So if I was a shock jock radio host, which I'm not, for the record, if I was a shock jock radio host, I would ask this question about Nebraska basketball. I would ask, did their 0-2 week last week against Illinois and Michigan, were they exposed? Did it prove that they cannot win a national championship, or do you even less shock jockey, do you feel any less good about them right now? Where are you at with Nebraska basketball compared to where you might have been at 6 days ago today?
I definitely don't feel less good about them. I mean, they banked 20 wins to get to this point. Like that's kind of the big thing here. Their ability to play for a national championship has never been what this season felt like it was anyways.
Right.
So, and it's February. Talking about who's playing for a national championship is always erroneous.
Yeah. Mathematically, a Big Ten championship is significantly less likely than it was a week ago, although not very not likely.
I don't know if it's significant, but I mean, they definitely have to take care of business. If you're going to get a 1 seed or a 2 seed, they probably can only lose 2 more games if that's going to be the case. And that's still what, 27-4.
I think a week ago. So, all right. So maybe that kind of explains it. Like a week ago, people were dreaming about, I mean, the dream
The
was
Big
still
Ten
alive.
title,
Yeah. The dream was still alive for an undefeated season at that point,
Wow.
and a 1 seed and
The
all these
dream
different
was,
things.
yeah.
Has this past week with losses to Michigan and Illinois, which are nothing to sneeze at or clear your throat at or whatever it might be, does it make you come back to earth and, like you just said there, make you think about the season in a different way? Like, hey, let's center ourselves here. The goal is not to, I mean, the goal is obviously to win the national championship.
Just to
as it
put
is
yourself
for
in the best
anybody.
position to win the national championship.
Correct.
That's all it can be.
Or to, when you get to the NCAA tournament, win a game and then
Right,
win a
Nebraska
game and then
specific,
win a
yeah.
game and then win a game. Right. Like just kind of continue on from there. But I think a lot of people got caught up in the conversation over the last week of like national contender this. I mean, there was the whole like, you know, it really fired up after the Michigan game last week. Is Nebraska legit? Like all those different things. And I don't think any of the talking heads, you know, and I don't think Nebraska will drop very far in the rankings.
I don't think they should
when they come out. But, you know, it is the conversation in your head as a Nebraska ball dreamer and thought haver any different than it was 6 days ago? I think maybe it is, and maybe that's not the worst thing in the world because they were never going to go 37-0 and win a national championship.
I don't think, again, I can't speak for everyone. I don't think that was like the thought process of what this was going to be anyways. So Jesus, somehow getting worse. It's incredible. Just talk for a second. Drink some water. I don't understand this.
We'll find a way. So yeah, I'm sort of curious how you guys feel. 402-951-1620. I do think, like I said earlier, and if you missed our conversation about Nebraska basketball earlier, you can go back and find that on the podcast. Yesterday was the first time that I had really seen them not answer the bell in the way that they always have this year. So I think it proved to me that they were human a little bit. And honestly, like that was sort of nice to see. Like because as stupid as the conversation is about, hey, do they need to lose? No, they don't need to lose because that's not how this team operates. But I wanted to see what happened when things kind of got real for them. And they had to just answer the bell every single time this year. And finally yesterday, I was like, yeah, I just don't know if they have it. Like, because you could have convinced me, you know, before Michigan, like, oh, maybe they just execute everything until the end of the time and then they win the national championship and that's the story. So it proved that they have things that they have to be concerned about against quality of teams like Illinois, against quality of teams like Michigan. Like there are at least warts there. And honestly, I hadn't really seen many this year. That was important over this past week. So I don't take to long story short here, I don't necessarily take last week to be a bad thing for Nebraska. They lost twice, and you'd obviously rather that they didn't. But at the very least, you proved that you're right there in the thick of things, and you had two really difficult games. You fell up on you fell on the wrong side of both of them, and now you sort of know what you have to do in order to get back to that point, or in order to win games like that. And I don't think it was just an Illinois thing either. I don't think it was just a Michigan thing either. Michigan is a little bit more excusable because it was on the road and you were without Mast and Frager. And obviously I know Mast was not himself yesterday, but Frager was good. And it was a home game. But I don't know. I feel like last week was overall still a pretty good week for Nebraska basketball.
Yeah, I think they learned about themselves in the losses last week. I just think like the break comes at the right time. You have the opportunity, you go play Rutgers, and then you get that Purdue game. and we'll get to have this conversation all over again. If they lose that Purdue game, then I think it really changes the calculus on how they'll be viewed in the tournament, viewed in the conference, viewed nationally. But overall, I mean, they lost by 9 points to a team that played outstanding, and they lost by 3 to Michigan.
Yeah,
shorthanded.
Mhm.
So it was not an ideal week for Nebraska basketball, but this happens in the course of a 31 game season.
I have a question for you, Schaefer. And so this is this gets out of the game by game thing, and it's more of a big picture. And don't get me wrong, the season is still the game by game thing because they're in the hunt for a Big Ten title. But on baseball they do the Pythagorean record. Nebraska's 20-2 right now. They're 9-2 in the Big Ten. They have soundly beaten a majority of opponents this year. What do you think their Pythagorean record is? This is not a question that has an answer. This is just off of vibes. If you take out I'm trying to extract and release some of the magic that led to 20-0. Because there was a little bit of magic that led to 20-0. You don't go 20-0 without a couple breaks going your way. What is the actual record of this team sans the magic?
19-3.
Yeah, I was thinking two more. Yeah, I was thinking 2 more losses or something. And I don't know where they come. Maybe the road game against Illinois. It's at the very least still an 18-4 type of team. It has the look of it.
It's tough though because you beat Wisconsin by 30.
I know.
You beat Oregon by 35.
You beat K-State by 1. I mean, that's
the 4 games prior to the 2 losses. They
Right.
had a positive point differential of plus 82.
Right.
So,
you're right. It's difficult. But
in basketball, it's hard.
Yeah.
But
I'm trying to take out the game by game thing and go
Kansas
more
State, Ohio State,
Michigan,
Indiana,
Michigan State,
Illinois, Michigan State. Those are the 5
close games.
Here's how I view it though. Sunday was the first time where I felt like a team was unequivocally better than Nebraska in a game.
Yep.
And they were. And I think they're just a better team.
There's been halves where I thought Nebraska got outplayed, but
absolutely
never a full game.
Right.
Certainly not the end of games recently.
But Illinois was the first time where it's they were just better.
Yeah.
Start to finish, better.
Yeah. And so this is a pointless exercise. It's just a conversational piece because you don't get to take the magic away. You are exactly what you are. And Nebraska is going to have a home date with Purdue coming up next Tuesday, and that's a huge game for them.
What it should do is just reinforce to people that they might be 20-2, but they didn't get there by accident.
Exactly. They're still really
legitimately this good. That's why that week that happened, it's definitely not a season ender. And if anything, you learn from it, you move forward.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's take a phone call here on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. Here is Random Mike. Hey, Mike, good morning.
Hey, I'm with you on Nebraska. The issue, I agree, Schaefer. This team was better, particularly inside. And my question, I mean, the depth. 2 things: the depth of Nebraska, and specifically a guy like Garcia. There's at least one game they don't win early in the year without Garcia. Agree?
Probably, yeah.
Where's he been? What's the deal with him?
Well, he is. When they put him out on the floor, he's been sort of
unplayable bad against
lately.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
He was bad against Michigan. They just couldn't play him.
That's the thing. That's the flexibility you have with bench guys. You could put him in and ride the wave, and if he's not playing well, then you just can't play him, right?
He couldn't move. He doesn't have the ability to defend the way that they want him to. And then he was a liability with turnovers on offense those 2 games.
Yeah, but he in the game where he really shined, he gave him that inside presence, which Illinois was just dominant inside. And again, part of that was masked. I don't know about you guys. I was really interested in the remarks that Hoiberg made after each of those last 2 games. And he was pretty blunt about the officiating, I thought, in in each game more than he's ever been before. It's almost
Way,
like
very,
he
very
realized-
uncharacteristic for him. Very
Yeah,
uncharacteristic.
and you wonder why. And I think, first of all, I think he's being honest. And maybe, is it borderline? Now, you are limited in what you can say about officials, right?
Yeah, you don't want to get
Obviously, he will
fined.
be.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been, has he?
No.
No.
And Dannon should just have a pot of money.
Oh, yeah. There you go. The fine pot.
But I mean, he's like he was close to at that point. But my point is, he realizes, he's being honest, but he realizes, hey, this is the year, and I'm a big mask guy. If you're watching that game, he had so many that were so close to going in, and he didn't score till the very end of the game. So what did Hoiberg say about it? He said the guy was in the emergency room
until 3 o'clock in the morning,
days ago.
and he played like it. Yeah.
Yeah, he played like it. He was good enough to play, and the shots he was missing, it wasn't like he couldn't get it there. I mean, they were close. So he easily could have scored double figures, and that was the difference in the game. And the inside presence, we were dominating inside, and he would have helped. So the depth thing, and Hoiberg was talking about Connor, not Connor. Look, I'm forgetting names.
Jacobson,
our
Kale?
great outside. Pardon me.
You talking about Kale Jacobson, or are you talking about who are you talking about?
No, our great outside shooter with the quick release.
Sanford.
Oh, Price Sanford. Yeah.
Right, and he was talking about him being basically mugged, and it reminded. He was just blunt about that, and look what he said about his offense. That it's aesthetically pleasing. Did you catch that?
Yeah. Something like that. I mean, I get what he was trying to say there.
Yeah, and he's saying if you allow him to be basically mugged and grabbed all the time, it's not going to work. I mean, that's what I was interested in, how blunt he was about that, and how will that affect. And we know the great coaches affect officiating. They know how to use them, and it's very annoying when you're a fan of the other team. I mean, you name them, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of effect this has. Because remember, Case say there were games where he was just mugged.
Yep.
I remember a Minnesota game a few years ago. I mean, they just fouled him on every play, and none of it was called. And after the game, the talk among people was, "Oh, Casey had a bad game." Well, there was no way he could handle that. You know what I'm saying? How much can that affect the future? I mean, it's just like watching all the pass interference that isn't called in football. They just let him get away with some, and this affects the outcome of the game, especially with certain teams. And, that's what I'm thinking. We got to improve the depth. We're very vulnerable to that when guys are hurt or sick. But then the officiating and how they handle this Hoiberg offense, which is so, it's beautiful to watch. It gets guys open for threes, and we are look, if we're hitting threes and playing the rest of our game, we can kill people, and we have, at times.
Tough team to beat. Yeah, no doubt. See you, Mike. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Take care.
So a couple things there. First of all, the depth thing, they're fine on depth. This time,
they are what they are.
Yeah, this time of year, you're gonna ride your guys.
They're 7.
Yep,
And that's
you're gonna ride your guys. That's the story for every team in the country. The second thing is, and I think there's points of that where Mike raises a good point. I think Fred is talking about officiating more. Yes, probably because he knows that, this is the year, and he knows his team is good. He also knows what kind of team he has. And they, like, if they're going to get bowled over on the defensive end and get called for fouls, then they need to be getting the touch fouls and the pulls and the turns and all that stuff on the offensive side in order for the math to really work.
He's calling out the conference. That's what he did.
That's why he's talking, because he knows, like, if they were a big, strong, physical team that just blows stuff up, then he's not talking about it because he wants it to be called this way.
Mm-hmm.
But he knows he has the type of team that plays the way they play. A high percentage of their scoring comes from behind the 3-point line. They're not big guys, right? They can't score at the rim as well as some other teams. They don't get to the free throw line. So their whole thing is movement, especially movement off the ball. and the freedom of that movement. If they're not allowed to move freely, then their offense just doesn't work how it's supposed to work. And
Right.
like we've seen it when it works, and it's really, 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 really good.
Again, I think it's to put on the radar of the Big Ten, like, you need to be calling this. This needs to be a thing. This should be something you're watching, etc.
Yeah.
And he did it publicly. I'm sure he does it privately during
Oh
the
God,
games.
yeah.
But when you're 20-2, you are going to get a little bit more cachet for that when Nebraska's 7-17.
Yeah. I think so. And he's also probably looking out for his players too, especially Samford.
Well, it has to be frustrating.
Yeah.
Because again, like the way that game is officiated, especially in the first half, there was a combined like 10 fouls. And then you get the second half. And
yep,
it's just a totally different officiated game. And I mean,
the same thing happened in the second half against Michigan,
right.
But what happened was like it wasn't this. Like it was a differently officiated game, but it wasn't the same game. I mean, What happens when you have Michigan, who was bigger, more athletic, more physical than you, and maybe not more physical, but Illinois, certainly all three of those things, they felt out Nebraska's sort of style, how they were, and their answer both times at halftime was, we have to punch them in the mouth.
But
like
they don't get called for it.
Right.
That can't exist.
Right.
So that's my larger issue with
but
it.
Their thing is they're putting it in the officials' hands.
But the officials are effectively saying,
and the
Nebraska defensively is a more physical team than Michigan or Illinois in how they play.
A lot of times the team who doesn't have the reputation for being the big,
this is
strong,
where it gets annoying.
Right. Oh no, it's definitely annoying. Yeah.
Because Nebraska is getting calls that they are getting called for things that they won't get on the other end.
Yeah.
And again, I'm
just telling you why it's happening.
Right.
And I'm telling you that Nebraska is certainly not the first team to be victimized.
No,
by
I get it. But
yeah.
that's also why Fred's talking about it.
No doubt.
Because he wants to at least, if Sanford's being held the entire game, which he largely is, I mean, you don't have to find, it's pretty easy to watch the game and see someone grabbing his jersey as he's going around everything. They want that called, especially if you're going to call a bunch of backcourt stuff like they did in the Illinois game when Keaton Wagler would throw his head back because he got touched. Mm-hmm. This is where the complaints come in. And again, I don't think Nebraska lost because of officiating.
Yeah.
I think they lost the Michigan game in part because of that, because Michigan made 2 field goals in the last 8 minutes of actual basketball action. But the Illinois game, Illinois was just better. Like, that's the difference in this to me. I left the Michigan game thinking, man, Nebraska hung tight without Mast, without Frager, played great. I left the Illinois game thinking, if these teams met again, I don't know that the result changes.
There is something.
That's how I feel. I think Illinois is better. I just do.
Yeah, right. I think there is something to the, like I said, reputation is one thing, but then there's also the consistency at which you are fouling, right? Like and once again, I understand why this is frustrating, but I'm just sort of like, I'm trying to explain it. Nebraska is not a team that, despite how good they are on defense, they are not a pressure defense. They are not a ball pressure defense, particularly, right? Like they get it done because they rotate really, really well. They're on their P's and Q's in that regard, and they have excellent closeouts that prevent people from making 3-pointers at a high rate. And they double in the post, and a lot of times they're undersized there too. But a lot of the times, especially in these last 2 games, what Michigan and Illinois decided to do was at halftime, they were just like, we're blowing screens up. We're going to jump right through them, and we're going to blitz and pressure you so you can't get into your stuff as easily. And once you are that type of team and you do it consistently, then all of a sudden a touch foul doesn't look like a touch foul anymore. Mm-hmm. It just looks like basketball. That's how you're playing. We see it. I mean, I see it all the time.
Yeah,
everywhere. And so that's that's part of, I think, what's happening. Nebraska not probably going to get the benefit of the doubt on these just because of sort of their
and historically, Illinois has gotten the benefit of the doubt. I mean, I just look back at their last 4 games. Again, their free throw differential, whether it was Nebraska, Washington, Purdue, and then Maryland, they're like a plus 70. Like, it's just insane. They shot 30 against Maryland, 22 against Purdue and 16 against Washington, 28 against Nebraska. Like, they just get to the free throw line. They earn it probably more than anybody else in the conference.
You know what's funny?
Earn it in air quotes.
Illinois has. Wow, this is now. Hopefully, I'm reading this right. This is KenPom stat. Illinois has the lowest opponent free throw rate in the country,
Which is total BS.
with how much they pressure.
It's
And now-
absolutely ridiculous.
Now, one thing that tracks that with that is they force no turnovers defensively. They are one of, if not the worst teams in
Sure.
the country at forcing turnovers.
and Nebraska having 8 yesterday really
Right.
hurt them, which
Right.
8 isn't that high of a number.
But that's very surprising to me
considering how they play.
with how they play. Yeah.
They muscle you up and they
Mhm.
don't get called for it.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that it's because they're unbelievably clean.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot in there. That's for sure. Want to hear from you guys on that. We can maybe touch back on that a little bit later as we go on throughout the show, but let's take a time out and make way for Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska coming up on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. Just past 8:30 here in Happer and Schaefer, 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. Let's welcome in our first guest of the week, Tim Verghese from inside Nebraska. Tim, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys. How we doing?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Schaefer, go
Can't talk, Tim.
ask a question, Schaefer, and then you'll see
Right.
how Schaefer's doing.
Let me get this started in case I don't have a voice for the end of it. Tim, how was the junior day for Nebraska? I almost made it through.
Tough.
Yeah, it was it's obviously, we talked about it at the end of last week, a smaller group than, maybe some initially expected. Part of it was travel issues, weather elsewhere. But you also had, I think over the last few weeks, this emphasis from the staff on spring practices over junior day, just where the board's at, where they stand with some of their key targets, and they made some big changes at some key positions, just in terms of the board, where the board stands. But in terms of who they got over the weekend, thought they did well with the top guy in town, top uncommitted guy in town, Keyshawn Bowman, number 6 receiver in the country, was on campus for the very first time. And this is one that the goal is to stick around, to keep getting visits from him, get him back on campus for a spring practice, line up an official visit if he chooses to get those. He was a guy that was planning on making a decision here on February 12th, but the emergence of Nebraska as a contender, along with his desire to see a few other programs, has him pushing back that decision date. So that was a big one for the weekend. Along the offensive line, it was a big week big weekend for Jeep Wade. Had Kyler Kuhn, top 10 interior line prospect, back in town. That's a guy that's visited Nebraska a few times already. And that's going to be a regional battle. You're battling Iowa, you're battling Missouri. Penn State's been in the mix, but especially more so now that Matt Campbell's out there. I think that's going to be one of the out-of-region programs to watch there. But this feels like it's going to come down to Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri. I mean, I think Penn State's going to be in there, but I like what Nebraska's done. I think Coach Jeep Wade did a good job connecting with him over the weekend. I coming out of the weekend on Rivals with Steve Wilfong reports Nebraska's the leader for four-star offensive tackle Timmy Aliu. That's a big deal just because he had a big weekend. He spent Friday at Georgia and then flew up to Nebraska on Saturday and then flew back home and drove out to Auburn on Sunday. So to come out of a weekend where you make 3 visits, including one to an SEC program, and come out of the weekend as the leader, I think that's a pretty big deal. And then to wrap up on the offensive line, Barrett Cottrell, in-state offensive lineman, legacy offensive lineman, was on campus for the first time since earning an offer from the staff. Spoke to him last night. He feels really, really good about the new offensive line staff. Really likes the new offensive line philosophy and is steadily developing a bond with some of the commits on campus. Noted it before the weekend. Still feel this way. This is one that could move pretty quick for Nebraska. He's planning to make a spring decision after a few visits to practice in March, and I feel good about where Nebraska's at as we come out of the weekend.
Tim, you mentioned there was some weather going around, and Ahmad Hudson wasn't able to make the visit up, and then people may have seen that he stayed home, and then he got a visit from guess who? Lane Kiffin swooped right in, and there was a picture of those two. Yeah, of course he did. What's the latest on that? I mean, is there anything to be concerned about with Hudson, or is it just like, hey, didn't work out from a travel perspective?
Yeah, it didn't work out from a travel perspective, and I mean, this is Lane Kiffin. Like, he's good at his job. You know, he knows what he's doing. Ahmad, coming out of the season and heading into January, wanted to only make 2 visits. Wanted to get out to Ole Miss and wanted to get out to Nebraska. I don't even know if that Ole Miss visit ultimately happened. Ultimately, obviously, didn't get out to Nebraska either, but had no plans to get out to LSU. Has obviously been in touch with the staff, but is still kind of feeling out the new staff, still feeling out where things are at. Doesn't make it out to Nebraska. So what happens? Lane goes out to see him. And yeah, I mean, as far as where things stand there, I'm not worried about too much there. I do expect he's going to be back in March at least once, and very early in March. And again, he's going to keep making visits to Nebraska. I don't think him not making the visit is a sign of where Nebraska stands or something Nebraska did recently or anything. It just literally didn't work out just from a his own basketball schedule paired with some of the travel issues, it was going to be too tight for him to make it in and out and still kind of respect his own basketball schedule.
What is the latest with 2026 Dylan Berryman after a eventful end of the week?
Yeah, he's not he didn't make it to Florida. That is good news, of course. And yeah, this is going to come down to Nebraska, Kentucky, and as things stand, I mean, unless you see kind of a late surge from Kentucky, which isn't out of the cards, we've seen it before. But unless we see a late surge from Kentucky, I think Nebraska's gone about their business the right way here, made them feel like a priority, and done well to just. Again, they were the ones that intervened here to kind of get the Florida visit called off. They are the ones that are, kind of pushing pedals to the metal here as we close in on signing day. All signs point to Nebraska getting over the top here on Wednesday.
What kind of difference? I don't know if we ever talked about this with you, Tim, but Trey Taylor is a guy who was in town for the junior day this weekend. And obviously, he'll be around a ton over the next year or so here. What kind of difference has he made? Can he make? Will he make? Just as far as like their recruiting operation and the guys that they get in and their experiences when they get here. I mean, obviously he's all about it at this point. What kind of difference can a guy like that make?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a guy that won on top of just the passion for wanting to be here. You're talking about a guy that as a prospect is viewed a lot differently than he was when he committed to Nebraska. Mentioned this with Schaefer last week, but a lot of the questions people had for him when he committed to Nebraska about the frame, about the consistent accuracy, about his ability to push the ball downfield, about his dual threat ability. He answered all of that. About his ability to win. I mean, that was the biggest question. His ability to lead a winning program. He answered all of that as a junior. So, and then he's out here on the 7-on-7 circuit, and it's like, oh well, he went down to Battle Miami, which is one of the biggest 7-on-7 events you will find every offseason. And was one of, if not the best quarterback in attendance. And so, you talk about what kind of impact does he have? I mean, Keyshawn Bowman, the number 6 receiver in the country, was planning to decide here in 2 weeks between Miami, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Oregon, Ohio State, a few of those programs, decided to put that on delay so we could see Nebraska for the first time. And that was the result of playing with Trey Taylor at that Battle Miami tournament and on the 7-on-7 circuit this offseason so far. So those two have developed a relationship. And I think we're getting to a point where Nebraska never really got to benefit from that with Dylan in terms of, prospects who were in the same cycle as
right.
Dylan, paired up with Dylan. But they are getting to do that. The 27 guys are getting to do that with Trey. Trey's now in Nebraska where he's on campus he's going to be on campus as often as possible. I mentioned at the top of this, the emphasis now for Nebraska is these March visits. Part of that is because of Trey. There's no real, initially it felt like there was a push to get a lot of these guys in town so they could connect with Trey and the rest of the commits that were planning to be in town. Now Trey's going to be here all the time. So it's not really necessarily going to be this thing of having to get these guys so they can connect with Trey. It's like whenever we get them in, Trey's going to be here to connect with you guys. He is as much part of, Nebraska's efforts to building this. His efforts to peer recruit are important, but his presence in the class is just as important to Nebraska's efforts to building out this top 10 class.
What does that wide receiver board look like?
So we're at Keyshawn Bowman at the top of it. I think he would have to be at the top of it. I would say just where things are at. I would say within the region, Tay Ellis, obviously the commit you're looking at. I would say besides that, you're looking at guys in the region. You have out in Kansas, you have Justin Lindsay and why am I blanking on the other name? Chris Harris Jr. Out of Lee Summit West. Two guys that I would say they're on the lower end of the board in terms of ranking, but Nebraska likes both of those guys. I think especially Chris Harris is there's a lot of Ja'Cory Barney there. He's a dynamic playmaker, can do a lot with the ball in his hands. Further up the board, I mean, again, Keyshawn Bowman's kind of one of those top of the board end guys. Others at the very top of the board, they're still trying to flip Jameer Brown, the number 1 receiver in the country. He's committed to Ohio State. Xavier Saab, but I don't love their chances there at this point. Khalil Taylor out of Pine Richland in Pennsylvania. He visited in the fall. Is expected back this offseason. I think he's up there with Keyshawn Bowman as the realistic top of board target. He's the number 13 13 receiver in the country per Rivals. They recently offered Zion White, 6'3" pass catcher out of IMG Academy, originally from Hawaii. That's one where they just have to figure out how to work themselves into that recruitment. He's down to an unofficial top 3, and really think it's going to come down to those top 3, unless a Nebraska or someone like that surges here late. I think the names I would watch off season that may be off your radar: Anthony Jennings out of Fort Lauderdale Dillard. He got a visit from Tequila Shorts. He's been pursued heavily by Florida, Miami, Georgia, et cetera, but Nebraska's been in that mix. Tequila's been in steady contact. He's planning to make a visit here later this spring. Jacob Thomas, who's committed to Pitt out of South Florida. That's another one Nebraska's been trying to flip. Both these guys, speedy kind of slot type receivers that can work inside, can work outside. And then 2 other names I would say would be Isaiah Alvarez out of Don Bosco Prep. That was a recent offer from the staff. They went up to New Jersey to offer him. And then Trey Britton out of Belleville High School in Michigan. Most of these guys, they're all like right around 6 foot, 5'11", can work inside, can work outside. Nebraska working for guys that can do stuff, can run routes really well, but can also create after the catch, can create with manufactured touches. They have some big frames on the roster currently. They've added some big frames. I think the emphasis here in 27 is just building out a well-rounded receiver room with guys that can contribute in year one, paired with guys that, can develop and work in, and guys that are familiar with Trey Taylor and can develop over the course of their career.
All right, Tim, we'll let you go. You're the best. Appreciate it as always. Have a good week.
Yep, appreciate you guys.
Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska. Check out all the latest recruiting stuff from there. Or you could check out this email from Chris, who has something to say about Ahmad Hudson. He says, "You have to be kidding me if anyone actually thinks Nebraska has any chance to get this kid. He is 1,000% going to LSU."
Put it on the board.
Put it on the board that Chris over the Equitable Bank inbox said that Ahmad Hudson is 1,000% going to LSU. That's what Chris said. I don't know. It was funny that it was like, well, Nebraska's not going to get him on the visit. There's a basketball game, and there's there's travel concerns with the weather and all this stuff. And then, bang, Lane Kiffin's at his school. He's like, I know where you are, and I'm coming to find you. I'm Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
He knows exactly what he's doing. All right, we will return. We'll run at the 8 o'clock hour. Don't forget, Michael Bruntz is still coming up in about a half hour. Plenty more to come on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. But first, football's biggest game is right around the corner. You can get in on all the action with Underdog right now in Nebraska. Not an Underdog yet? Then you're in luck, because new customers score $75 in fantasy bonus entries when you make your first $5 fantasy entry. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just head to the app, make picks on if a player, say in this game coming up on Sunday, will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, rushing yards, receptions, and more. Pair them together, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, yada, yada, yada. If you get them right, you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. Plus, there's new promos dropping daily in the app. So if you like making picks and if you like winning money, Underdog is the place to be for Sunday. You can take a look at whatever you may like. Maybe it's a quarterback. Maybe it's a running back. Maybe it's a receiver, whatever it may be. Find it on Underdog, higher or lower, and bang, you are home free. What are you waiting for? Download the app today. Use promo code HAPPER1620 to score $75 in fantasy bonus entries when you play your first $5 on fantasy. Promo code HAPPER1620. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 19 plus at present in Nebraska. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms. _DFS_.html for details. Concern with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. Coming to a Summit League school near you, Mark Turgeon. Mark Turgeon took the job at Kansas City over the weekend. The longtime coach at
It's pretty wild.
Maryland. Yeah. I mean, I don't Kansas
Wichita
City
State too.
Kansas City has been, yes, he was at A&M for a few years too. That has been, in a league that is full. I mean, it's a low major league, the Summit League is, but a lot of people have referred to some of those jobs individually as like, oh, these are some of the worst, a couple of these are some of the worst jobs in America and things like that. Like, I mean, UNO Omaha was freshly up from D2 several years ago, and they have had success. So I don't think that's necessarily, they came out with the job rankings, the field of 68 people. Omaha was like middle of the way through the Summit League, but people have looked at Kansas City as just a really bad job for all these years. I mean, look what's happening at K-State is in a really bad position right now, and Kansas is, even though there's weird things going on with Darren Peterson, they're still pretty good. Mark Turgeon going back to the Midwest roots and going back to UMKC. Nice job. Turgeon the surgeon.
Big week for UNO.
It is a big week for UNO.
It is a big week.
It's a big week for UNO.
Big week for everybody.
Thursday, Saturday for the Mavs, road games at North Dakota and North Dakota State.
They're number one. North Dakota State's number one.
North Dakota State is 9-0.
And then UND, who Omaha already beat this year, is tied for second. So
7-2.
Yeah, the North Dakotas are having a great season. South Dakota State's really been struggling as of right now.
Joey is wondering what happened to the state of South Dakota.
Lost their coach. Basically,
USD is never good.
Multiple players to NIL
Mhm.
for South Dakota State, anyways.
Yeah.
But South Dakota State's been really struggling this season.
Right.
I'm more concerned about them than South Dakota. I know where South Dakota lies in the Summit League.
At the bottom.
Yes. Pretty routinely. Pretty routinely. There you go. Enter Mark Turgeon into the Summit League. The Roos, by the way, are 4-19 right now.
Yeah, they're second to last in the standings. Oral Roberts is at the very bottom. They've been really struggling these past 2 years in the Summit League.
Their only league win this year against, sadly, the Omaha Mavericks.
And I think Denver is going to be leaving the conference after this season.
Where are they going?
They're going to go to the West Coast Conference, I think.
Dear God, what is going on with conferences and things of that nature? Anyway, wasn't Mark Turgeon like from Lincoln, or I know he has family in Kansas City. They were saying
his
yesterday.
dad lives in
His
Lincoln.
dad lives in Lincoln.
Yeah.
So
Or did. I don't know if he still does. But.
Gotcha. Well, he is back on the I-29 corridor. We'll say that. I guess Lincoln isn't really on the I-29 corridor, but it's like an hour away from it. We get a tweet from our dear friend over at Husker Hoops Central. Schaefer's voice sounds like Rink Mass trip to Michigan.
I think his was worse.
I don't know how Rink's voice was, but all I know is I watched Rink Mass play yesterday, and I thought, hey, he's not very sweaty because there must not
Nothing to
be.
sweat.
There's no sweat to sweat.
There's nothing to sweat.
And when you're all out of sweat and you're Rink Massed, what are you supposed to do? Nothing. I don't think you could do anything.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
John texts in, is Schaefer just hawking those things on the floor, or does he have a trash can? No, I mean, to Schaefer's credit, I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing. I haven't seen anything come out of him this morning.
That hasn't really been the issue since like 5 this morning.
Okay.
I got most of that out. There.
It's
just stuck.
The problem is inside.
The problem is inside. The problem is me. I am the problem.
And you're not having any problem keeping it inside.
We got 1 more hour, Shafe, and you don't have to speak for the rest of the day.
I believe in you.
You can do this.
That's what we're doing.
You're quitting on your podcast today. Breaking news to all of
that is not
breaking news to all
happening.
of Schaefer's podcast listeners. There will be no podcast today.
At least you're not doing any play-by-play for a big basketball game like John did last year.
That is
I gotta find some audio from that game.
It would have been the
Is it
UConn game.
comparable?
It was really bad.
It's really bad.
It was bad.
He was trying to survive through those post-game interviews on the phone because
Is
he
the
was
Stephen Hawking voice. I can just type in.
I was thinking about while we were talking to Tim there. I was like, text me your question, and then I'll just because this is not turned out like I kind of thought. All right, you're going to start at the beginning, and we'll work it out. But that has not happened.
I can't like sustain it.
Can't sustain it.
There's like a little burst and then it dies.
Sad. All right, we'll take a break. 9:00 hour, we will speak with Michael Bruns. Oh, and by the way, we will take this show all the way to 10 today. Another second day in a row of no crossovers.
No desktop.
What
no
in
desk
the
conversation.
world will we do? We'll go all the way to 10 o'clock today. So an hour left of Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. Just short of 9 o'clock here on Happer and Schaefer, 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Michael Bruns will join us here in just a little while. We'll get caught up on basketball, some football with him as well. If you've missed anything to this point on the show, you've missed basketball talk, Creighton, Nebraska, football talk, kind of like what's going on with football. There was a story about Tony Calandria, and then I thought, I don't know if people really want to talk about football right now. And then, so I don't really know what we're going to do. We're just going to talk about basketball for the next
we'll figure it
several
out.
weeks.
We can talk about the piggyback bandit.
It is right at this time every year where I'm like, ooh, and then you got to kind of get yourself back into off-season mode, and then you're there, and then by the time the season rolls around, it's different.
Pitchers and catchers report soon.
Baseball?
We can talk some baseball.
College baseball opens in 12 days.
What if we just have like a grab bag of topics, and anytime a football topic would have been the topic, we reach into the grab bag and that's what we talk about instead.
I love it. Can we create a grab bag of topics?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you and I can do that.
Deck of cards?
Yeah. That's basically what I was thinking.
Alex and Lincoln writes in, let's talk dunk contest.
Oh no.
What are your thoughts?
It happened.
It did.
And people watched it. And a lot of dunks weren't made.
Yeah, I think it needs to stop.
It should disappear like that little spring game carnival Nebraska had last year.
I agree. They already
should not be there in the first place.
They already banged that to make room for the spring game again. So why not?
The idea of it is good. The execution of it is not great.
I don't know. Is the idea of it good?
Well, you want to show off the athleticism of your athletes.
I don't know. Do you?
I mean, yes.
Like, I don't know about this whole football basketball crossover thing. Like if they had just won a Big Ten title and they wanted to come back and wave to everybody in the stands at halftime and say, we won a Big Ten title, and then the coach wants to get on the microphone and said, screw Purdue and screw, everybody at Ohio State and Michigan and all that stuff. Great. It doesn't quite hit the same when the team isn't very good. That's all.
Fair. It is fair.
That's all. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. It sort of hit me the same way yesterday as well. So maybe that will be the last year of the Nebraska football dunk contest, or maybe they will continue to force it down everyone's throats. Yeah. Like the lozenges that have gone into Schaefer's gullet during this show. So goes the Nebraska football dunk contest.
We got 2 more for the 9:00 hour. We'll see if I correctly picked the right amount.
Text from the 402. The dunk contest was poop. There was zero excitement from that crowd to see any football players on the floor. Yeah, that's where I was sort of at too. It's like it just doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of juice for
Some of
Nebraska football.
Has there been any comments about the whiteout game? And now that Nebraska lost in the whiteout game and they lost in the blackout game in football, are the traditional Husker fans having a right to say that they should stop doing that and just keep it all red? See a red?
I haven't heard much of it.
The crowd was great yesterday.
I love it, and I think they should continue doing that.
I mean, people showed up a lot. I mean, there's probably a handful of people that still wore red.
I noticed. I was looking. The
8
speckles.
fans.
There was like 12 speckles in the entire lower bowl.
People really showed up with it.
There was a group that came to watch Wagner played. I saw some posts after the game with him.
Oh yeah, his high school.
Yeah, right down the way down to Kansas.
Shawnee Mission East. I want to say one of those high
Shawnee
schools.
Mission. I don't know which school.
There's East. There's West. There's another
Kia,
one.
The car dealership.
Shawnee Mission Kia, just a short drive. Shawnee Mission Parkway and I-35. They don't play that anymore on Royals games.
That's how I knew Shawnee Mission.
Maybe the Royals will have a new television partner this year, and they won't play those commercials. Maybe they will. Yep. I have no idea. Keena writes in on YouTube, I have time for a volleyball dunk contest. Now that is something I would be interested in.
Fun.
How would that work?
Well, you'd have to find volleyball players who could dunk.
Or you have to bring the rim down.
Or you'd have to bring the rim down. Oh, okay. Now, you might have my attention if you did like a 9-foot rim dunk contest.
Okay.
Because there would be significantly more successful dunks.
I think you go to the trampoline and the normal people in the crowd come out and try to do it. And you just laugh.
And it's not good. You don't see successful dunks, but you're sort of laughing at yourself at that point.
Wow.
That's good.
It's entertaining.
It'd be like I've always advocated for like a pitcher bunt contest at the home run derby. Like it's stupid and it is antithetical to whatever you're trying
Who
to
can
do.
get it closest to the line?
Exactly. I think it would be electric.
Without going over.
I think it would be electric. So Keena falls up. He says, I don't know. They're 1 million feet tall and they can jump. I like it. I bet there's some volleyball players that could dunk on Nebraska's volleyball team. You don't think there's one or two?
I mean,
You don't think Andy Jackson could throw it down?
No, I don't.
I bet she could.
Are we
You think
just,
Harper Murray could
are
throw
we-
it down?
We're like a generation away from Candace Parker throwing a dunk down and people treating it like it was the moon landing.
Did you see that kid? Did you see the young lady from one of the Western Nebraska high schools who's dunking? She's like
That's fantastic.
she's like a 10th grader.
Bring her for the half.
Seriously.
I would watch that.
She was like dunking with ease.
Yeah, good.
I bet Nebraska volleyball has like 2 people who could dunk.
I would take the under.
Joey?
I
Over or under?
I think it's more rare than you think.
Over or under 2 Nebraska volleyball players who can dunk a basketball, not like a tennis ball, like a basketball.
Oh
Like
man,
a women's basketball.
Yeah, they could do a women's basketball.
I'm gonna go with the over. I'm gonna say 3. I think
Joey has
there
confidence.
would be a third.
Joey has confidence. Tyler writes in on. I say over as well. Tyler writes in on YouTube. He says, "I don't think it helped that many of the fans didn't recognize who any of the players were. I only really knew of Quinn Clark and Jeremiah Charles." Tyler said Jamal Charles, who is not on the Nebraska football team, but most didn't recognize them. Okay, so maybe there's another topic in there as well. Nebraska doesn't have very many recognizable names on their team. Yep.
It's the receivers, basically.
Yeah.
Hunter, Barney.
And I don't think that like has to be a bad thing. But there's, like how many seconds do you have to think after I ask you the question, who do you think of when you think of Nebraska football? Just give me one player as fast as you can when I ask you the question, who do you think of when you think of Nebraska football? And it can't be Matt Rule.
Ja'Cory Barney.
Carter Nelson. That was the first name that popped in my head.
You followed the rules of the game, so I
Make that
appreciate
face
it.
again.
Carter Nelson. What are we doing? I don't even know my answer. Like I'd have to think about it. I mean, probably Ja'Cory Barney, Isaiah Hunter.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's wide receiver room.
Yeah.
The most notable players.
Haven't seen their quarterback play. They don't have any running backs.
They don't have any running backs.
Yeah. They offensive linemen are always,
There's not like a local
nondescript.
There's not like a local player that is completely taken over.
Who's
it could have been Garrett Nelson, like at one point in time, could have been someone's answer.
Yeah.
But there's not just that guy anymore.
Who is the basketball player you think of when I ask you that question?
Mast.
Really?
Yeah.
Sam Hoiberg.
I think for a lot of people it's Frager.
Could be Frager. A lot of Frager talk lately.
There is a lot of Frager talk. People are fragering it up.
He looked outstanding.
He looked really
Sunday.
good yesterday. And then of course he had the still shot of,
That was
the ball is like not even out of Sam Hoiberg's hand yet. And he is turned around completely, galloping into the backcourt with his arms raised like he's Keisei Tominaga. I mean, that was excellent. That still shot is there forever. So he might be the face of the team.
He was John with the Illinois bench every time he'd hit a 3 in that corner. It was pretty great.
Yeah, he didn't do the finger guns, but there was a little bit of something I could see.
Did he do the injection thing?
I think he did that. Yeah, I think he did the ice in the veins.
Like right at him.
Pretty good. By the way, a couple people commenting in on I mentioned I apologize, I still can't remember the name, but there is a high school girl in Nebraska who's dunking, and I said that she was in Western Nebraska. Apparently she is in Milford, which is not, at least according to the texters, Milford is not in Western Nebraska. I believe it's just outside of Lincoln, right? Lincoln's kind of Western Nebraska.
Oh my God. I don't subscribe to this part of 1620 The Zone.
Why not?
Anything west.
You're an Omaha guy.
Yeah, but I also
What goes on west of Lincoln? Nobody knows.
I was born.
You were born west of Lincoln?
Yeah, Columbus would be west of Lincoln, I'm pretty sure.
It's about the
Not
same.
by
It's,
much.
it's about the same range
Yeah,
if you look at the map.
You gotta check
Just
your
due north.
longitude, buddy.
You got to go east a little bit. I know that much.
Let me see.
I could look at the map.
Yeah, you better check your longitude.
All right. Well, you guys let me know if I'm wrong on this.
you go northwest.
Yep, it is
You
a
go-
little. It is a
so-
little west.
So if you're looking at a map between Lincoln and York, it's like little close, very close to York in terms of.
I get Fremont and Columbus confused
Longitude.
sometimes.
Fair. That's fair.
Fremont is east of Lincoln.
Fremont is almost north of Lincoln.
North and just
Yeah.
ever so slightly east, according to my the map that I'm looking at right now. Columbus is pretty much western Nebraska then.
Yep.
So you don't say you're from western Nebraska. You just say you're from Columbus.
Yeah. Why would I say Western Nebraska?
I'm not sure. Texter writes in from the 402, not sure Milford is western Nebraska.
It is not.
Brian
No.
says she's from Milford, not exactly western Nebraska. Yeah, that's
Omaha people.
Ken in Omaha says anything west of 72nd is western Nebraska. Don't make me tap the sign.
Yeah. Then you live in Western Nebraska.
We all live in western Nebraska.
Western Nebraska. West of Lincoln. I mean, you could tell like the topography changes. All of a sudden you get outside of Lincoln and you're going straight forever and ever and ever and ever.
You're approaching the sand hills, and then you get the rocky formations over in
Yes.
Scotts
We
Bluff.
call that Eastern Colorado. Eastern Colorado and Western Nebraska are the same thing.
not even eastern
Rough.
Wyoming.
Yeah. It's very gray out there.
You need to get to like an hour outside of Denver for it to even feel like you're in a different state, really.
100%.
Like it's
You have
yeah,
to be able to
pretty
see
bad.
the tips of the mountains
right.
before it even feels like you're anywhere different.
Is that Sterling? Basically Sterling.
Yeah, it's
Sterling is in the eastern gray part of the state, isn't it?
So what am I thinking?
I had a Sonic burger that had hatch chili on it in Sterling when I was driving on I-76 through a snowstorm one time. That was awesome. You're thinking of like probably Fort Morgan.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fort Morgan is where you could start to feel it a little bit.
That came to my head next, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Sterling, ooh, tough. For the 402, I would say Columbus is central Nebraska. That's what a texter says.
Probably accurate.
All right, central Nebraska. Also, idea from Alex and Lincoln for the dunk contest: lower the hoop and do a football coach's dunk contest.
Oh no.
Now that's in the area that you were talking about. Do the dumbest thing possible
Yes.
and make it funny. Like I do think there is a point to that where the football team, there's some guys who they're trying to do actual real dunks. If it was more of a bit, if it was more funny, then you might have an opportunity to have some entertainment there.
Yeah.
But that is not what they are doing. Not what they are doing at this point. All right. We will take a break. Michael Bruntz will be our next guest. I have a reminder for you before we do that, though. The Get Your Bleep Together 5K sweepstakes. Once again, no, you don't have to run a 5K. It's $5,000. Head to 1620thezone.com for a chance to win our Get Your Bleep Together sweepstakes. The contest runs until February 24th. Once again, 1620thezone.com. I know for a fact that there is a Michael Bruntz Open in the works. We are excited to get that whenever it's done. There's probably, going off of what Josh did on the midday show with me, my guess would be that Russell Wilson saying Broncos country, let's ride, is still going to be involved in it in some way, shape, or form. Joey, you don't have to give away any of your secrets.
There's just got to be some vocals in the intro and in a voiceover.
And
Should I
who
do them in
better-
this voice right now? Is this?
What was that?
Should I do it now?
This is the best you've been.
I know.
It
It's
is.
amazing.
Really,
Just
really nice
Brunt's
job.
coming back.
Michael Bruntz from Husker 24/7 joins us now on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone Hotline. Morning, Bruntz.
How's it going?
Good. If you're Mike Schaefer, though, not so good.
Not great, bro.
You sound like Marge Schott. What's going on with the voice?
Do I sound like Marge or Patty and Thelma?
No, the former Cincinnati Red Zoner, Marge Schott. Sound like you've just been sucking lung darts all morning. Are you okay?
Man, that would be preferable to what I have been doing all morning.
Just coughing at like very random times out of nowhere.
You can't even predict.
You ever
It's
had
just
that,
like
Bruntz,
popped up.
the sneak cough where you're just like,
Yeah.
you're just in the middle of a sentence and then bang, it hits you?
Yeah, that's no fun. Do you guys have like a cough button? Do you have one of those?
Yeah, we
there?
do, and
We
I
do.
haven't used it particularly effective this morning.
You're just slamming it like an old person at a slot machine in Vegas constantly.
Sometimes you can't get your finger to it by the time the cough arrives.
There's a possibility that I get diagnosed with something on air by a doctor that happens to be listening because the cough has been in the background enough.
Well, that's save on the copay, I guess. So that would be good.
All right, Bruntz. From basketball this week, I just sort of brought this up a couple segments ago with Schaefer. Have your thoughts changed at all, or what did this past week teach you about Nebraska basketball? Maybe that either you didn't already know, or have any of your thoughts changed on this group with their 2 losses last week?
No, not really. I mean, I think, you kind of start getting to this point in the year, I think, and you start thinking ahead to like, okay, what does kind of a bad draw or a good draw look like for Nebraska? I mean, I think we've seen, teams with size and physicality in the paint might give them some issues. I think yesterday it really kind of felt like Nebraska was going out of its way a little bit to not challenge Illinois a ton at the rim. Part of that, Illinois is just a massive team in the paint and fairly athletic on the perimeter. I think you got to give them a lot of credit for the way that they played in that game. Like, I thought they had a decent game plan and really went in and played a pretty good game. But no, I don't think I'm like mashing the panic button because they lost these two games. I think especially the Michigan game, you got to feel pretty good actually about the way that they competed in that game, given the limitations that they had. I do wonder. I don't know how much you guys have talked about it, but you shot 9 free throws for the week,
Mm-hmm.
and I understand that Nebraska doesn't play a style of play that they're going to shoot a ton of free throws, but we saw this a little bit with Keisei Tominaga at times where teams just started getting physical with him, and it wasn't being called in the Big Ten. And I felt like, especially in the second half yesterday, that there was a lot of grabbing going on with Price Stanford and guys trying to run off screens and cut and stuff, and that's such an important piece of Nebraska's offense. It wasn't a surprise, I guess, that Fred was a little bit vocal in post game yesterday about the way that Nebraska's games are currently being in the ears a little bit more. That
Sorry, I thought we lost you for a second. You kind of cut out. You're back now.
I'm here. Okay. But no, I think you kind of have to watch that going forward. How are Big Ten officials going to officiate Nebraska on offense? Because you need guys running off the screens. You need that free-flowing offense. And I think part of the reason, not the whole reason, but part of the reason that they've, had some up and down performances the last two nights out is just because the refs have just been letting a lot of off-the-ball stuff go. So I think that's something that kind of bears watching going forward too.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Hey, Schaefer, you go ahead if you have anything.
I basically just want to know what you think Nebraska can kind of take away from this game to utilize the rest of the year. Like, what if you learn things in a loss or in these last two losses? Like, what's something tangible that they can take from this and kind of use as they go through the back half of this schedule?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know that Nebraska adjusted enough on offense to the way that Illinois was kind of defending them. I think that's probably something you could take away. I don't know if you need a little bit more aggression from Braden Frager going to the rim. I mean, there were multiple times in that game where it seemed like, a Nebraska player had a path to the rim if you wanted it, but, they kind of kept the ball and cycled it back out. I don't know if that's a lesson going forward that you can kind of use. Illinois used a little bit more zone than I think Nebraska's seen to this point in the season. So I don't know if that's something that you kind of learn how to play against a little bit more. I don't know. I mean, I know that, you can make quite a bit about Rink Mass' performance yesterday. I don't know that he was at 100%, still coming off the flu stuff. And, it feels like that this kind of, 5-6 day stretch of break here of no games. I think it actually, kind of comes at a pretty good time for Nebraska. And then you have a road game against the really down Rutgers team. So, with the way the schedule actually breaks, I think it's a good thing. And, just kind of looking at what the schedule looks like going forward, I mean, there's not a lot of regular season games left that scare you. I mean, you've got Purdue. I think the two against Iowa are going to be tough. UCLA plays relatively well at home, but I mean, there's just not a lot there that you're like, okay, we've got another matchup with a team like Illinois or Michigan left on the schedule. So, once you kind of get through this rough patch and kind of rest up a little bit, I think Nebraska will be better off for it.
Back to something you said before, Bruns. Now that they've lost these two games and they were very different losses. I mean, the Tuesday one on the road and without Mast and Frager, like that's a different thing than yesterday was. But do you have a more clear picture of things or a thing that could be their bugaboo as you get closer? I mean, basically, I've been spending the entire season trying to figure it out, and it hasn't been really clear. Maybe up until this week, and Illinois sort of threw some things at them that they didn't handle very well. Like, what do you think about that, and how that looks the remainder of the season?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think certainly Illinois' length bothered them. I do think the Illinois' guard play too. I mean, Illinois just doesn't have a lot of holes on their roster. Like, I think they're going to be a pretty tough matchup down the stretch for a lot of teams. So I don't know. I mean, it just kind of felt like, all season Nebraska's kind of gotten that big shot or, been able to go on that kind of key run in the second half. And it felt like every time Illinois had, had the answer. I mean, they had the answer, and they also, were able to get to the line a ton in the second half. The play where the Illinois forward kind of like volleyballed a perfect pass out to the wing for the 3-pointer. I mean, like, those are the types of plays that Nebraska's kind of made with regularity this season, and you just didn't have it. I mean, you didn't have it, but that's just the reality of the way things kind of played out yesterday. You couldn't get enough stops. You didn't make enough shots down the stretch. So, I don't look at that game as kind of a, an indictment, I guess, on the team or anything like that. Like, I mean, it felt like a group that was kind of running on fumes a little bit at the end, especially with, I was surprised that Rink played as much as he did, in all honesty. Like, I was expecting maybe like 18 to 20 minutes, and I think he was up around like 25 or 26, I think. So, we'll see. I mean, they've got a chance to regroup now. And I guess, you're kind of just hoping that the maturity that this team's shown all season kind of takes over and you're able to kind of reset for the back half of conference play here.
Let's jump over to baseball.
Oh,
what does
baseball.
what does the rotation look like in its early iteration for Nebraska as they get prepared? What are we, 2 weeks away?
2 weeks.
Yeah, so it's the 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, I think you have a pretty good sense of what it could be. Ty Horn is unquestionably your Friday night guy. I think, he's kind of got that Friday night swagger you want, and the way that he finished last season, and also the way that he's thrown early on in the spring, I think you feel pretty good about what he can give you on Friday nights. Kind of the big question mark is where Carson Jossa kind of fits into everything. I mean, he's 6'7", he's hitting 98 on the gun with regularity. You just need to kind of know with a little bit more consistency where that 98's going, because when he's on, he's got like All-America type stuff, and when he's not, it kind of becomes a struggle. I think he's probably going to be, you're potentially your Saturday guy, and then Sunday they play 4 the first weekend, so it's going to be a little bit different. They got to find 4 guys, but they've got Cooper Katsky, who was a big transfer portal addition from Miami of Ohio. He was the MAC pitcher of the year. He's low 90s, but he's the kind of guy that goes out and is going to give you 5-6 innings with regularity, and those are the types of guys that when you get into conference series are super valuable on Sunday. So I mean, he could be like a Sunday midweek option. They have a few young arms that they really like. Blackowitz, who we saw a little bit of last year, Gavin Blackowitz. He's kind of in the mix. They've got some other guys that have really good stuff that just haven't been kind of tested in that starters role yet. So I think it's Horn, it's Jossa. I think Cassidy's going to factor somewhere. I mean, maybe even Tucker Timmerman gets in there as a potential Sunday guy. That they've got options. It's just kind of trying to figure out who can, get up and down in the dugout 4 or 5 times and kind of keep everything together. So that's where they're at, I think, going into 2 weeks away, which is kind of crazy.
Crazy indeed. All right, Brunts, we will let you go. Always appreciate you stopping by, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Yep. Take care, guys.
Michael Brunts from Husker 24/7. That baseball, I mean, we mentioned this last week, Nebraska baseball, next Friday, the 13th, against their new rivals, UConn. Nebraska should walk in with signs off the bus that say, basketball capital of the world. And then the UConn people will get triggered by it. Nebraska, handshake meme Creighton, handshake meme hating UConn.
Wow.
Look at that. We're finally
Brings
all
them
getting
together.
along.
UConn is the center of the Venn diagram.
We're finally all getting along. Sam writes in on Twitter, he tweets at Happer and Schaefer. Verizon, when Brunts dropped out, Verizon heard he was complaining about the refs and fried the call. Is this true?
His phone is pretty famous here on 1620, right?
He's had. I mean, I think you probably have the more famous phone,
Really?
which we don't have to experience much anymore, which is awesome. It's fantastic.
It's nice.
We just get your voice, which, when it exists,
Right.
I think Farron probably has the most famous phone on 1620 The Zone.
That's why he's on the stream.
God, this would be a good list, actually. Who has the most famous? I mean, Simple is famous for just not showing sometimes. And there's always something going on in the background, like he's always not buckling his seatbelt, so you can hear like a ding, ding, ding. So
Incredible.
I don't know. I don't know what the book on Brunts's phone has been.
I think the the afternoon show always had issues with him.
Had some ups and downs.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't get the sense that Brunts is really complaining about the officials. I mean, the problem is that there's just not going to be an answer to this thing. And that's I think both the problem with people complaining about it and the problem with with it existing in the first place. Nebraska is like, if you accept, which I believe you should, that Nebraska is just the kind of team that's not going to get fouls called for them very much because of their style of play, then you go into this situation where it's going to be up to who's calling what and what is the threshold for calling fouls on an individual game-by-game basis. It's inconsistent, and I understand how that could be frustrating. At the same time, it's like if you know that it's inconsistent going into it, it's hard to be like, that was the reason why we lost. That type of thing.
Yeah,
It's a weird conversation.
I think the reputation thing in basketball is always driving people nuts.
What's the rep? You mean the style in which they play?
That, but also certain teams get officiated certain ways is generally the viewpoint.
Yeah, that's probably the case.
And that's just difficult to overcome. But again, like you just don't expect to have a negative 41 free throw differential in a 2-game stretch.
Yeah, once again, it's not the free throw differential thing for me. It's I just think that
they lost the games by 3 and 9 points.
The other teams,
like 41 attempts matter.
I just think of course. I just think the other teams, like if you were to do it over again, maybe Michigan and Illinois shoot 7-8 less free throws this week,
which would matter in one of those.
Which would absolutely matter,
not the other.
There's no doubt about it. And then like my frustration is when everyone just brings up the free throw discrepancy in an individual basketball game, and it just ignores all of the context of the basketball game.
Right.
They just look at the box score and it says that Nebraska shot 4 free throws and the other team shot 20, whatever. And it's like, well, I guess the refs sucked in this
game. Do you
game.
think that happened this past week though?
Yeah, I do. That's what I heard from a lot of people this week.
Because
free throw discrepancy.
They're looking for the double standard.
I mean, that Michigan game, you watched it. Do you feel like Michigan deserved 19 more free throws than Nebraska?
I felt like they deserved a few less free throws, but they deserved a lot more free throws than Nebraska. Yes.
Right. But that few less is a huge connotation in a 3-point game, particularly when they made 2 baskets.
Yeah, but don't you feel like
they made 2 baskets in the last 8 minutes of the game?
Yeah.
Like, so huge impact on that entire thing.
But when people say that, I get the sense that they're talking about Nebraska not getting to the free throw line more.
So again, Michigan was getting to the line, not because they were getting fouled in the act of shooting. They were getting to the line on rebounds. They were getting to the line on loose balls.
Yeah.
They were getting to the line on backcourt calls, things that could happen for Nebraska that did not in the course of that game at all. Nebraska plays a frenetic style of defense.
Yeah, we talked about the Michigan.
Calls.
We talked about the Michigan.
So that's again, I think that's where this annoyance comes from people. And again,
so what's the conclusion? That they're getting purposefully jobbed by the Big Ten?
Not purposefully, but it definitely caps their ability to compete in these games when you're being officiated one way than it is in the other.
What? But I mean, forgive me here. Why does it only happen to them? I mean,
well, I mean,
what am I missing?
I don't know why it's only them. I can't speak to that, but I don't think
could it possibly be that it's not only happening to them?
Well, I'm sure Illinois generally shoots more free throws than everybody, as we have pointed out here. So no, it's probably happening with other teams, but like I said, it becomes a reputation-based thing that becomes a problem.
Yeah,
you officiate Nebraska a certain way because you think they only play this style, so they don't get these calls.
But also, I mean, it's not Schaefer. It's not just a reputation. It is the truth. I mean, Nebraska shoots one of the least amount of free throws of any team in the country.
You're focused on Nebraska shooting, and I'm focused on Nebraska being called for fouls that are happening in the same game where they don't get called the other way. I'm not talking about Nebraska shooting the free throws. I'm talking about Michigan getting to the line for what, rebounding?
But you're talking about reputation, right? So
yes.
like reputation, reputation is
King Wagler gets to the line based on reputation as much as he does anything else.
Reputation is a product of what you have been.
Sure.
Reputation is a product of what you have been. And Nebraska shoots over 50% of its shots from behind the 3-point line. That is the 9th most in the country.
Statistically, like, where's Nebraska in terms of fouling teams in the country?
Like just total fouls?
Yeah. Like what are they average per game?
I do not know.
And then why was it so much higher against Michigan and Illinois?
Total fouls CBB. Was it higher against Illinois?
I don't think they've, other than Illinois and Michigan, I don't think they've had a lot of games where teams have shot 20 plus free throws against them this year.
So let me see. Nebraska fouls One of the least in the country, 13th least in
weird.
the country. So 14.3 fouls per game.
So you don't think that makes the last week seem odd to people?
That the discrepancy was that big? No, I just explained why.
Whatever. I can't get there, and I don't have the voice to be able to go back and forth on it. But so if they foul one of the least in the country,
yeah,
but then they just allowed 50 free throws in a game in which Michigan they had how many total fouls? Like, what was the total foul in that?
In the Michigan game?
Yeah.
Nebraska fouled Michigan. Let's see, PF 19 times, 19-11.
Yeah, so not as bad
in that game. Nebraska fouled Illinois a grand total of also 19 times.
So a little bit over average then for both of those games.
Yeah.
So not as bad as I would have expected, but still also the Michigan thing, that game was poorly officiated.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I agree.
Like that, again, I don't think it mattered in the Illinois game anywhere near the level as it did Michigan.
Yeah, right. I agree with you on that one. Let's take a break. Anybody have thoughts on that? We can you can fire them at us. We have one final segment, and we'll be back after this on 1620 The Zone. Here's an email from the Equitable Bank inbox from Kevin. Hi, Kevin. Says, Connor, while I appreciate the fact that you've taken over the morning show on 1620 The Zone, I'm really having a hard time getting down with Marge Simpson as your co-host. Please tell Marge to speak less.
Yeah. I'd be okay with that. Marge, you'd be okay with that.
That was
okay
a great Marge line, actually. Yeah.
That's where I thought Brunts was going with the
That's kind of what I
Selma.
thought. That's kind of what I thought too.
Or you could be Johnny Most, the former Celtics radio announcer from back in the day.
Joey keeps referencing old Celtics radio announcers.
He wouldn't even have been alive for him, would you have?
No, I wouldn't. He passed a few years before I was born.
Wow.
Yeah. So you go back and listen to his calls.
The voice doesn't.
I mean, some of the legendary Celtics moments happened with him on the call. I mean, they'll showcase his call, the Havlicek stealing the basketball.
Havlicek's got the ball.
Do you
than any of the Larry Bird stuff
with your respective teams? Do you guys care a lot about what happened before you became a fan of them? Like, do you regard 85 as the second best year of your life?
No, I do not. 85 wasn't a year of my life.
Exactly.
85 was not a year of my life. But I appreciate the general history of the franchise. But I wasn't there to experience, so I have no personal attachment to the 85 team. But I do have a personal attachment to all the teams after basically 2000.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in 1992, but that's when I started getting into baseball. And most of the attachments are not good to those teams.
Yeah, most of the attachments for me started at 2007. Nebraska football with Bill Callahan. What a way to start things off for me.
Joey's sports existence started with Billy C.
Good old Bill.
That's not how you draw it up.
No, not exactly.
But then I discovered the Celtics and the Packers, and I thought, oh, this seems good.
The Royals had their Royals rally. They used to call it Royals rally. I don't know what they call it anymore, but they had some fans inside the stadium and things like that. I don't know. Got me excited.
I will tell you this. I was originally a Nebraska basketball guy until I got converted into Creighton basketball during my middle school days.
Whoa. So what made you change over? When was this?
This was early Doug McDermott era, and my stepfather goes to a lot of Creighton games, and
Way to go, Doug.
Went to my first one. I think it was the Akron game. I mean, we sat up high, and then they gave us tickets right behind the student section. This was winter break.
Yeah. Those.
I watched them play, and they were great. And I got to see two more games that season: the Drake game, and then that whiteout game against Wichita State.
Ah, what a time!
That was a fun game.
What a time!
The rest is history.
Now.
Had season tickets for a couple of years.
I was thinking about I sort of I don't know. I got really introspective during the Creighton game on Saturday because
you're worried they're never going to be good again.
Yeah, they were. Fair. I wasn't worried about that. They were getting their tails kicked, and I was like, remember how good last year was? Remember how good 2 years ago were? I was like, and then I thought I sort of in my head reconciled it with myself, and I was like, every once in a while you got to have a year like this. Every once in a while you got to have a year like. I was just like. I just became very at peace with it.
And then a year becomes years, and then a decade passes.
Hopefully not. Hopefully this is a 1 year blip on the radar. Last time they were really bad. It was a 1 year blip on the radar.
That was the year after the Doug McDermott era.
Correct, but that team was a little bit different. Yeah. It was a different time, and there was a bunch of other stuff going on. So that's the way that's. And then that's when I think I tweeted out, I think I need 63 beers, which I did not end up getting 63 beers. I would have liked to have 63 beers, though. I just,
it was that type of night.
I kind of just made peace with the season. I kind of just made peace with the entire thing. I'm like, yeah, this is just the way it's going to be. I'm not throwing in the towel or anything like that. I'm not going anywhere. And hopefully,
there's still the crown.
Hopefully nobody goes anywhere. I don't even know if they're going to make the crown at this point. But it's taken on a different light at this point.
I think a winning record is going to be challenging.
Yeah,
genuinely.
It just might be. I mean, if they looked as bad as they did against Marquette,
right,
for any point of the remainder of the season, it's going to be very difficult.
Georgetown wins that.
Georgetown is next. Yes, a trip to DC, which is famously, those haven't always been fun for Creighton either. They've lost a
No,
couple
they
games
haven't.
there over the years.
It has not been great for Creighton over in DC.
Two matchups with DePaul that I'm really worried about. You still have the DePaul, like this is almost like Nebraska football and like all the streaks over the year. Like I think Creighton's 24-1 against DePaul.
I can take a look.
I think it's 24-1, and the only loss was in that 14-15 post Doug year on the road. Like, so I'm worried about these two matchups with DePaul. I don't want the DePaul streak to go anywhere. We got to keep DePaul in the basement somehow, some way.
Who's their coach again?
Chris Holtman.
That's right. Yeah,
Pretty good.
Oh, Ohio State guy.
Yeah, he's got him going, even though they've lost their last two to Georgetown Xavier. That was after we talked about him when he went to the bar and bought all those shots for people.
Yeah, 23 game winning streak as of right now for the Blue Jays.
23 in a row. 23. We need the DePaul streak to continue.
When's the first one?
Next week, I think. Next Wednesday.
Yeah,
Wow.
Next
8 o'clock.
Gross. I didn't know that.
Maybe I
Not
should
working
go.
that game. The
Should
two
I go?
I am. Yeah, you should go.
the two remaining 8 o'clock games for the Blue Jays are against DePaul. So I won't be able to. I won't be experiencing the DePaul Blue Demons
Thought it was
because
gonna,
I got to get my sleep.
thought it was going to end last year at MSG. It did not.
Oh yeah, I
Things
remember.
changed in a hurry on that one. I was sitting there trying to all right, I got to get back to Omaha somehow. It's Thursday, and I'm not supposed to go back until Sunday. I have to go back home.
We need like an inner monologue scroll as the game's going on for you.
That's a good idea.
In these things.
Maybe I could journal during the Maybe I could journal during the Creighton games.
That
now.
would be impressive. I think it'd be difficult though.
Sam writes in on Twitter about Creighton. He says the comp isn't 15. It's Altman's final season. Clearly a team between eras. Infrastructure should still be there resources wise, but could be bumpy. I like that comp actually. I mean, those were some pretty dark. I don't know about dark as much as just sort of dull. And I don't know that I don't know that right now it's particularly like that. But I do remember those last couple Altman teams, and it was just like, man, I just don't know if this is going anywhere. It's up and down. It's bumpy. And then they in Mac's first year, nobody was really sure about where it was going either. They weren't very good that year. They ended up going to the CBI finals and losing because Antoine Young stepped on an invisible line at half court at Oregon that year. And then it was NCAA tournament city from then on out. And then the question was like, oh, they're going to be able to win games ever in the NCAA tournament. And they answered those questions as well. I don't know. It's very different, but yes, maybe I'll start journaling during the games now. What a great idea. A text here, a couple things before we get out of here. Question from Mike. Mike says, good morning, gentlemen. I have a question for Connor. My question is,
thank God,
what do you think of the Lincoln Salt Dogs hosting the All-Star game this summer of the Independent League baseball season? I saw this, and I was like, this is kind of cool. Also, how cool would it be if Connor is the MC on their microphone that does the Tri-City Chili Peppers Cosmic Baseball game at Warner Park in May? Also, what are your thoughts on Vinny getting a 2-year contract extension? Well, I have thoughts on all those things. I, as always, am open to work at any point in time. So that would be good. And I like that Vinny got a 2-year contract extension. There are my thoughts.
very brief.
I'm sorry. They're more brief probably than they needed to be at this point. Tyler writes in, did we see that Gus Malzahn is retiring?
I did.
Yeah, I just noticed that broke news about an hour
So
ago.
he had just taken the OC job there, right?
Last year.
Yeah,
I
he
think.
He was there last year.
He and Tony White came in, and they didn't have a
White.
better year.
No. And then
They did beat Alabama, though.
they're getting ready for the season, and he's just like, peace. I'm out of here.
Seems like it.
I kind of like that hire. I was like, I was kind of excited for him, because
Looked good after one game and then went dramatically downhill from there.
that didn't go well for him as a head coach, which is not, particularly surprising. But I've always thought really highly of him as an offensive guy.
Yeah. Brilliant offensive mind.
And just
Almost won a national title in 2014 against Florida State.
Right.
I mean, they're a Kelvin Benjamin catch away from him doing that.
That was the last BCS national championship game. What
That
an
Auburn
era.
team was really good.
Let's see. What else do we have before we get it? Do we finally burn the oh yeah, no. It's Super Bowl week. We haven't even talked about this yet. So what I have missed the NFL I have longed for the NFL talk over the last week or so since it's been gone, or since it kind of drifted away after the AFC and NFC championship game. People forget that the flag football Pro Bowl is tomorrow.
Yes.
On Tuesday. So shout out to the flag football Pro Bowl, which will feature
Shador
Sanders.
Keyshawn Nixon.
I believe Joe Flacco
Wow.
also
Yep,
was
he's in
named to
there.
the Pro Bowl.
The AFC just pieced out entirely.
Very, very odd. I don't know how that all happened, but
Rodgers was a no for this.
I think
He's ready for his darkness retreat.
I wonder if you did nice. I wonder if you did like a percentage of the league that got asked or is participating in the Pro Bowl. What do you think that percentage is?
It's got to be like over 25, right?
It might be.
It has to.
It's a quarter of the entire. Let's just say it's that.
Well, just think about quarterback alone.
Yeah, right. Now that one is like they have however many quarterbacks actually do it, and then 2 can't because they're in the Super Bowl automatically, and 6 won't just because it's not worth their time and they don't have anything to prove to anybody or anything like that. And it's a flag football game anyway, so you're probably at what, like 12 total quarterbacks? Sure. I mean, that's more than 25%.
So Joe Flacco, who
Yeah.
didn't finish the year as a starter.
Yeah, I believe
who didn't
he's
start the year as a starter.
Yep.
Is they had to.
They somehow got to Joe Flacco, and they somehow got to Shador Sanders as well. I don't know. I
So
can't
would
really
they
explain it.
would they consider? So would he be considered now as a Pro Bowler since he's in, even though he got in?
Yes.
I'm
via
pretty sure you
via
get that.
injury.
I'm pretty
to
sure
other
you
players?
get that on your
Contract.
on your Pro Football Reference page.
Oh,
like
boy.
it'll say Pro Bowl.
What a way to get to the Pro Bowl with a 7 touchdown and 10 interception ratio.
It's nuts.
Do we think that's the worst of all time?
The worst of anyone to ever play in a
Ratio.
Pro Bowl.
There might be worse numbers
Touchdown
than that.
interception ratio.
The only awards in the awards column on Joe Flacco's Football Reference page is the 2023
Comeback.
AFC Comeback Player of the Year, or just Comeback Player of the Year.
Was he not the Super Bowl MVP?
So I guess they might not put Pro Bowls on here.
I think
So that actually is
I think
better.
Jacoby Jones was the Super Bowl MVP.
I'm glad that
Maybe.
it doesn't say Super Bowl MVP. I'm sure you have that right, Joey. But yeah, I don't, which is probably pretty good. They just took the Pro Bowl stuff off of this page.
No, Joe Flacco did win Super Bowl MVP.
So
in
it's not even on
2013.
it's not even on the awards column, which is, you might want to put Super Bowl MVP on there. All right,
Probably a good idea.
Either way, that will
It's up at the top, I guess, where it has the one Super Bowl champ, Super Bowl MVP.
one Super Bowl champ, Super Bowl MVP in 2023 AP comeback
But
player. But the
for
Pro
baseball,
Bowl stuff is not
Yeah,
on
for
there.
baseball, they'd have the All-Star game.
The All-Star game stuff
Yeah.
is on there for sure. All right. That will do it for us today. Once again, no crossover. Matt and Josh will be with you in a couple minutes. If you missed anything, 1620thezone.com is where you can find it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.